PLC chairperson was held in Dar es Salaam on February 8th, 2025. The newly appointed facilitators are a former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, and former Ethiopian Prime Minister Haile Mariam Boshe. These appointments will bring together the previously separate Luanda and Nairobi peace processes, demonstrating a concerted effort to promote stability in the volatile eastern DRC region. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has said he cannot refuse to work with former Prime Minister Raila Odinga ahead of the 2027 general elections. In an interview by KTN TV, and Gachagua said he is willing to work with any leader who has a goodwill for the future of Kenya. Also, Rigathi said that Ruto is deceiving Odinga by trying to give him the Prime Minister's post in order to control him politically and even to make it difficult for him to let Raila be the president in the next term.
From my working with President William Ruto, let them be very careful. I have heard them promise him to be Prime Minister. That is a lie, it's conmanship. There's no such position available in this country because it's not in the Constitution. Yes. But I'm saying we are not opposed to working with Raila Odinga.
You're willing to support?
Already we are working with Kalonzo Musyoka.
Okay.
We are working with Eugene Wamalwa. We are working with Fred Matiang'i. We are working with Eugene Wamalwa. We are working with all like-minded Kenyans.
And moving on is that rights groups who marched to the Ugandan High Commission here in Nairobi yesterday in the National Assembly to present a petition are still demanding for justice for the detained Ugandan opposition leader Kizza Besigye. They called on Besigye's unconditional release, who was last year arrested by Ugandan security operatives in Nairobi before his forcible return to Uganda, where he now faces security-related charges, which he denies. The activists also called on Kenyan authorities to uphold the constitution and stop abducting critics and foreign nationals.
Viva come viva! Viva! Viva come viva! Viva! Viva Besigye viva! Viva! Free Besigye free!
It's our fundamental freedom.
Yes.
8. Article 26(1) of the Constitution provides that every person has the right to life.
Yes.
Article 9, demand number 9. Article 27(1) of the Constitution further provides that every person is equal before the law and has the right to equal protection and equal benefit of the law.
Yes.
That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
Good morningy. Hello? Am I alone? Did the rapture happen?
No, it didn't happen.
You people didn't leave me?
No.
Okay.
If it happened, then it's you who left on your own.
Maybe I'm in a different heaven. You know how is it Revelation? There'll be a new heaven.
Yes.
Seventh heaven, new heaven and a new earth.
It's Revelation.
Maybe I'm there. But anyway, how are you? Good morning.
I am very well, thank you.
Thank you, please.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'm
Hello?
You're like those people who tap the hello, then they blow. Hello.
1 2 1 2.
Check.
Munani skia. Yeah, we can
If
see you
if
too.
it's in a church, it's pronounced hallelujah.
Oh, glory. We can hear the mic.
Hear the sound check.
Bus. It was sound check and it's a whole full-fledged service. All right. It's Tuesday and February is coming to an end already. It's just 3 more days to the end of this particular month. Good morning and welcome. A couple of conversations that we'll be having today now that we've established that everybody's okay. Anki.
Did you establish that I'm okay?
That's why I said, let me come back and just...
But I did sound check. I did glory.
Okay, so you're fine?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Very good. When we get through Monday, if you get through Monday and you're still in one piece, then everything is going to be irate. Hey, what am I doing? Okay.
Irate.
Yeah, don't worry.
Ooh, that's new.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's Tuesday and... we have a couple of conversations lined up, actually not a couple, but 3. And let me tell you what those will be. So, you know how the church has been very vocal in the last, few months concerning governance in the country.
Yes.
Now, when the church is meant to be a moral compass and is supposed to be involved in the way in which governments do business, then we say there's an agenda setting role that the church ought to play. The national chairman of the National Council of Churches, Reverend Elias Otieno Agola, will join us at 7 o'clock. And we'll be talking about setting the agenda for government by the church and what church, or rather, the role of the church in agenda setting for governance. So that conversation we shall have at 7 a.m. And then, you know how people may pass, somebody may be an accident, and then they have assets that they now, they don't really go anywhere. Businesses fold and the assets, we don't really know where they go. Now, there is an Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, UFA. You may know about them. So we're talking about inside plans to reunite unclaimed financial assets with their rightful owners.
Right.
Who belongs to this money? Not who does the money belong to. Who belongs to this money, because the money is there. The acting CEO and managing trustee at the authority is Caroline Cheer, and she will join us at 8 o'clock. And then finally, we'll have a conversation about what it is going to take to achieve disability inclusion across various sectors. And we'll talk with Tina Mungatana and Samuel Kavoi. Those conversations we will then Kavoi, and we'll have that conversation at 9 o'clock. So those are conversations that we have lined up for this morning. Getting into it and saying hello to you is what we shall do next. And even as we do, getting into our greetings and salutations for the morning, Delamere yogurt is your breakfast on the go. Grab a cup of it. Today, the strawberry is just featuring. I today have the strawberry, and getting into a morning where you have breakfast on the go, or you are in traffic, or you need to get from one place to another, or you need to take a study break or a work break. Delamere yogurt with real fruit pieces in it, whether you're having the strawberry like myself this morning, or whether you're having a chocolate chip like CT likes, or the lemon and biscuit, or the apricot, orange and honey. That combination just, does things. So it's great. So those will be the things that you can grab as you get along with it this morning. And then we can say hello to you, shall we? Tuned in this morning, quite a number of you getting in on it. How are you, Ndu City and Anki? Then you say we are?
Fine, thank you. City.
Yes.
You're fine, thank you.
I am fine, yes.
City was supposed to be a chorus.
I'm fine, thank you.
CT, what is the difference between a nation, a state, a government, a country, and a republic? All those 5 things, what's the difference?
They're synonymous.
They're synonymous.
3.
In Malawi, a nation, we say Fuko. Anki, say Fuko.
Fuko.
Thanks. Cyprian Kambuni says, good morning, tuned in, SpiceFM family. Mombasa is where Robert Mbogo is tuned in from this morning. Hello, Princess, and good morning. Leo, CT, and Dorice. Seems we back to free primary education, public primary, sending list of books to buy, considering the last time they received books from government was the Jubilee first term. Okay. I don't think that's necessarily true. In terms of the last time they received books, it's not true.
Not true at
it's
all.
not true. They've been receiving books. They've been very late. We saw that the transition from grade 6 to grade 7, that we got books maybe into the second term of grade 7, but they came. I'm not justifying that action, but I don't think the last time was at the Urus. Lena Mwangi says, good morning, Spice. Good morning to you, Lena. Spice family, have a lovely day. Need some rain here. I'm waiting for the weather updates. Well, where are you, Jimmy? Joe Mungai is tuned in from Washington. The truthful man is pouring beans. Spilling is an understatement. Yeah, that was interesting to see last night.
On KTN.
On KTN, Jesse Rogers had that interview with Rigathi Gachagua. So George Gashoriri says, good morning, everybody. Greetings from a cold and wet Manchester. Looking forward to a great show. Well, thank you for being here every morning. Tuned in from Doha is Bernardito. Good morning to you. And says Ryla has already signed in with agreement. It's just a matter of time he will announce. Really? You know these things?
There was that lawyer. People are speculating. You see that picture?
Well, let's see.
Oh, yeah.
A picture is not always worth 1,000 words.
Kenyans read more.
Okay. Zachariah says, who is lying down cannot fall. Well, that's true. Chamgay, my beautiful people, says Angor, tuned in from the beautiful city of Nairobi. Can't wait for the newspaper review. Well, we'll do that in just a minute to let you know what's going on. Jeffrey Mogaka, good morning, CT and the ladies in the house. Good morning to you, sir. Truthful man is overwhelmed now. Anafa, this Kiswahili has gotten me done, but something. Okay, good morning, SpiceFM. As things seem to unfold, the monkeys are the same, despite the fact that the forest seems to have changed. Good morning to you, Bwangi Juma. Rahim Tula says, good morning from Colchester in the UK. And Desmond Otis is also greeting us this morning. Watu wa SpiceFM, good morning. Good morning to you too, Chris. Good morning, Spicers. Agola, good morning. Dr. Venvik is also tuned in. My Prince, he says, Rigiji has decided that we must drink tea with ginger before going to sleep. Give us more, master. Okay. Husband says, good morning. Taste and see that the Lord is good indeed. King Dave says, good morning, lovely ones. Well, good morning to you too. Salek says, good morning. It's Tuesday. Zaki Juma says, good morning. I love the way... Hey, okay. My name is Ndu. Not Do. D-O-H is not my name. My name is Ndu. Let me help you spell it. N-D-U. I've seen another one. CT, you thought that they had exhausted the list of derivatives of my name. Now there's another one. D-O-H. But I refused it. I've refused.
As in Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti.
CT, you're not making it any better.
Imagine. They've called me Do. Wow. Like dough for bread. Kai, God in heaven.
Easy. That's
but
love.
Don't worry, I love you too. Ednah Atawel Misalimiwa in that dough. And this is what Johi is greeting all of us. Georgia Call says, good morning, people. CT Princess Doris, now Apenda Sana, always looking forward to the show. I'm watching from Miami in Florida. Good morning to you, nice. George. Sabal Herinyote says, Rogers lie. Everything is possible in politics. We see you. Okay. Princess Ndu, a meeting was held at the said school, and that's what the headmaster said, that the textbooks had not come. Okay, this is a particular school.
Since Jubilee time.
And this for a particular time, or is it since Jubilee?
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering. No. At this time, this year.
Is it a delay for this?
The Jubilee government was a bit of a while back.
Okay.
Yeah, Jubilee government
2022.
So, first of all, let's get granular. Are they saying that they never received books at all?
That's what I want him to explain. That since the beginning of Uhuru Kenyatta's 10 years, they've never got books. Or this term, 2025, because now we're getting to the half term.
Yeah.
So are you saying that this year you didn't get books? I think we need to clarify on that because that's quite something. But good morning, everybody, and Karibu Sana. Maybe you can, Leo, maybe you can specify that for us so that we can get an understanding of what that really is. Sawa. All right. We have to remember where we are. Mali.
Yes, we are in Mali.
Mali. What's today's proverb, CT?
Today's proverb is simple. God gives nothing to those who keep their arms crossed.
Pull up selector.
What?
Sorry. City, I'm just saying, could you come again?
Oh, pull up. Okay. God gives nothing to those who keep their arms crossed.
Okay.
It's true.
How do you receive when your hands and your arms are crossed?
You have to open. It's like my auntie used to say, you're looking for husband and you're inside the house.
Hey,
What are you doing inside?
he'll drop down like manna. Aye.
An aunt of yours was a gem.
I'm telling you.
You're looking for a husband inside
Inside
the house.
the house. Can't go out. Well, how will they see you? How will you receive if your arms are crossed?
Today you have touched somebody. Somebody is waking up this morning. Look good, Abi. Step out. You're looking for opportunities and you are not putting yourself out there. And then you say, oh, me, Lord, you forgot me. You forgot me. Step out. Why is it silent?
No, but it's true. It's true. Okay. So at this point, it'd be interesting to see what the reactions will be to that through the day.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the headlines. Some of them are here, some of them are not here. But let's start with Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard. The front page of The Standard today. Raila caged, really? Veteran opposition leader's political future is at a crossroads as he and his closest allies, Oburu Oginga, Paul Mwangi and Junet Mohammed navigate high-stakes talks with President Ruto. Yesterday's State House meeting signals a possible shift in alliances, raising questions about Raila's next move ahead of the 2027 general election amid division fears in ODM. We shall see. Lights out, trash in. Kenya Power, City Hall fight over debt. That was interesting to see how City County decided that they were going to dump a truck of garbage outside Steamer Plaza because they have not paid their bill, and others said, we're going to block your sewer. I mean, for goodness sake, block the sewer, switch off the lights, dump trash outside your gates because you show me, I show you. We'll look into the details of that story. Officer dies in Haiti amid challenges. Yes, we saw there's a casualty of one of the Kenyan members of the unit that is trying, and he was actually unfortunately killed by one of the gangs. Merz win signals shift in Germany. As you were asleep, do you know that there was an election in Germany? And they have a new leader in the name of one Merz.
And they're
look
not
into details of that.
it.
Nobody's shouting. Election done, we move. Court stops JSC from removing top judges. The High Court has barred the JSC from hearing petitions seeking the removal of the Supreme Court judges, igniting a legal battle over judicial independence and claims of a plot to weaken the top court. So we'll be looking into details of those and other stories in a bit. All right, CT?
Yes?
The star?
Oh.
I thought I was just greeting you. Hi, CT.
I was wondering now. Even these greetings, surely.
They're
Endless.
How many times must I be greeted in the course of a morning?
City.
All right. Today is that day when the star is free. Free meaning you don't pay for it. Yes. Inside there is MyGov. Okay, stories about government tenders, opportunities. It's a pullout. Okay?
Yes.
Right. Kenya feels the pressure of shunning career envoys. This is a story of how Kenya's defeat in the African Union Commission elections by one of the continent's smallest countries has shone the spotlight on Nairobi's diplomacy with questions now emerging over the quality of Kenya's envoys. Okay? That is what the Star have decided to say. Want bursary, avoid FGM. Residents in Kuria urged. Okay, Kuria is in Migori County.
Yes.
It's one of the places in this in Kenya where they still practice
FGM
with great vigor. Okay, so they've been told bursary, FGM, not same WhatsApp group.
Stop it.
Right. Bang in the middle of the paper. Employers, workers, union support new rates. What on earth are these new rates that I am talking about?
Right.
Well, I am talking about NSSF rates. Okay?
IGBQT.
Yes, exactly. How you will retire with 16 million. Well, this is the headline.
Okay.
New National Social Security Fund contribution summary from February this month 2025, meaning by the end of this particular, there is a whole chart when you're earning 20,000 to up to, if you're earning $500,000 and beyond, what you pay, what your employer pays in contribution, and the amount that eventually goes to NSSF, and how this is going to be how when you retire you have money. Okay. Yes. This thing of trooping to Nairobi to look for your money, which doesn't actually even exist, will come to an end.
Oh, may it be so.
Yes, that is me now trying to explain to you.
So the person who's going to get this 16 million is the person who's earning 500,000.
That one.
So if you're earning 20,000, forget about getting 16 million.
No. Just do the maths. Fraction of 20,000 to 500,000 and fraction of
that 16 million is equals to what you will
get something.
Okay. You'll get an equals there.
Yeah.
Very good for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Given what you're contributing, it's what you contribute really. Okay. So if you're earning 20,000 and you want to contribute like someone who earns $500,000.
It might be the stuff of witchery, but you can try.
But anyway, bottom line, I'm getting something.
Yes.
Okay.
The new NSSF contribution model significantly impacts salaried Kenyans by increasing monthly deductions to 6% of gross salary.
Increasing?
Yes.
Aye.
Which may initially reduce home pay. Of course it will. For example, an employee earning 50,000 will now contribute 3,000, while those earning 80,000 will contribute 4,320. Despite the immediate financial strain, the potential retirement payout could reach 15.9 million after 30 years.
Ouch.
I won't be alive then.
For God's sake.
Oh, City though. You won't be alive then in 15 years.
I might 30. I might be.
Yeah.
30 from now. No, I could very well be alive.
Yeah, you could be alive. Thing is, will that money be
whether I will know I'm alive is a different matter, but
somebody will.
Somebody will.
The assets thing, if he's not around?
No.
Oh, that's it.
Does it apply?
We'll find
Can
out.
you reclaim it?
We'll actually find out how assets get to the authority before they are claimed.
All right.
See, the thing is, by the time they're at the authority, they are unclaimed. So not all assets get to the authority, just those that are unclaimed.
Okay.
And so now they try to continuously
They're trying to match
the
the
assets
unclaimed
to
money
the
with
owners.
people.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll learn
So
more.
you have a lot that has already been claimed, and that's why it's not at the authority. Yeah.
All right.
Yep. Sour.
Why don't we look at the headlines on Business Daily?
Let's
shall
try.
we? Right. Not much happening, really. WHO ranks Kenya as Africa's top in breast cancer control. Okay? Control. Diesel and petrol consumption posts first growth in 3 years, meaning it has gone up. The last 3 years now it is beginning to, Okay. Treasury, CBK's emergency borrowing hits historic, wait for it, 107 billion Kenya shilling.
Where?
Right. Bang in the middle of the paper, why minister ignored advice to cut expressway toll fees. This is the headline story.
Very
Expressway,
nice.
this thing in the sky, people pay. From this article, it appears money was supposed to be reduced. Somehow, it was not reduced.
Okay.
Okay? Are we okay?
Okay. Yeah, but it says why. It says why in there.
I think so.
Oh, me too.
Fingers are being pointed at somebody called minister. Okay, so
he decided.
Minister, he ignored advice.
Oh, okay.
To reduce the price.
Yes, when he had been told, minister, reduce the price. Minister said he's not reducing the price. So now the Business Daily has a story on how minister refused to
reduce the price.
Does it make sense?
Did he refuse or did he ignore?
Both.
It's
Ignoring is refusing. Maybe it was just silent. Maybe he's thinking about it.
Okay, why don't you just massacre the English language? Ignorance is refusal.
Sure, anything is anything. Anything is everything.
Okay.
All right, before we take that break, let's look at one story, shall we? And this one about lights out trash in the city. It's on page 2 of the Standard. Well, There are a number of things, but before we do that, let's look at this story. Tributes pour in as veteran KTN anchor Jogoo Mwaura dies at 74. Legendary former KTN news anchor Jogoo Mwaura, whose commanding presence and unique style of delivering news revolutionized Kenya's media landscape, has passed on at the age of 74. Mwaura passed on Sunday morning at a Nairobi hospital after undergoing surgery following a brief illness. He began his career at KTN in the early 1990s. He quickly became a trusted voice in Kenyan households. His signature segment, Jorogoo's Notebook, was renowned for its incisive commentary on pressing national issues, dedicated to informing and educating the public. Upon leaving KTN following years of excellence, he made a remarkable comeback in 2012, guiding the station through a pivotal rebranding phase before retiring a year later. Beyond his on-screen presence, he was a mentor to many, earning him the affectionate title of the TV legend among his peers. His wife, Lucy Njoroge, told The Standard he underwent surgery for it, but unfortunately, he did not respond well after. He was taken to ICU, but sadly, he did not make it. His former colleagues remember him as a consummate professional who set the gold standard for journalism in Kenya. John Bundotich, the group's acting editor-in-chief, paid tribute to the fallen television anchor, recalling his unwavering dedication to his craft. We have lost a rare talent. His commanding presence, fearless commentaries, and ability to break down complex issues made him a trusted voice. And may Mwaura's soul rest in peace.
Amen.
Okay, so this story of Kenya Power demanding 3 billion from City Hall has resulted in garbage. Literally. Ugly drama unfolded Monday as the Nairobi County government and Kenya Power clashed over unpaid electricity bills. The confrontation began in the morning when City Hall, angered by the power supply company's decision to disconnect electricity, dumped waste at Steamer Plaza and barricaded the building with garbage trucks. I mean, isn't that grown up and adult of them?
No. This is a perfect example of how you should behave.
Exact. This is the way.
This is the way. When you have difficulties with someone, you dump garbage
in their doorstep.
Yes.
In fact, if you have difficulties with somebody, you disconnect their power without talking to them again.
Yes.
And then now you go and dump garbage at their doorstep.
Those who are
best
seeking
ways
to understand how to behave maturely, this is what you do.
This is the best conflict resolution
Behaving like
you
people
can master.
who've broken up and they don't have each other anymore. The one who takes your clothes and throws down the stairs.
Burn those bridges.
Burn it
It down.
Let me tell you what else happened. This is how the confrontation began. In the morning, when City Hall, angered by the power supply company's decision to disconnect electricity, now went and dumped waste at Steamer Plaza, surely at the door. Look at these people.
So that is
it's lovely.
And once they dumped it, was the electricity reconnected?
No, please. Okay. Last week, Kenya Power disconnected power to several county government offices, including City Hall, demanding payment of 3 billion shillings. How do you accrue bills of 3 billion shillings?
How?
Let's start there.
That's actually not difficult, by not paying.
And keeping the lights on.
Yeah. And keeping the lights on, actually.
Yeah, so then they said this move seemed to provoke City Hall officials, who retaliated by dumping garbage at Steamer Plaza, the headquarters of Kenya Power, on Colobot Drive in Parklands. Now, the action, as one would imagine, caused a stir at Steamer Plaza, with staff unable to tolerate the stench, of course, garbage, that wafted through the building's windows. Many were forced to leave the offices because cannot take this any longer. Kenya Power's General Manager for Commercial and Sales, Rosemary Odor, said the dispute had escalated to new heights. Surely, this morning, county government garbage trucks deposited waste at our banking hall. People are in the hall banking their Steamer Plaza Sacco, and then they're smelling things they should not be smelling.
But also
in the
the point where she says escalates. It's been gaining momentum.
Yes, now because last week we disconnected their power.
Yes.
This week they've dumped garbage for us, and they've dumped it right where people are doing business. Surely,
What can we expect next?
Yeah, come on.
What next?
We can't explain why they've done this. Really? I would think it would be the simple matter of perhaps maybe you switched off their power last week. But I don't know. I'm just taking a stab in the dark. But we've had a long-standing issue with the payment of electricity bills, said Odor. It's not the first time we've had an issue with them. All the more reason perhaps why you should have spoken about it. The standoff is the latest in a series of retaliatory actions between the two entities, exposing deep-rooted financial tensions that have escalated into a tit-for-tat confrontation impacting essential services in the capital city. Not content with dumping garbage, City Hall also Yani, it reminds me of the kid in the playground who's going to bully you to within an inch of your existence. City Hall then went on to do what? Block their sewer lines.
Aha.
So what happens when you now decide to use the sanitation in the building? It comes back up instead of doing what? Going down. For most of the day, operations were disrupted at Steamer Plaza as workers had to leave the building.
Oh, you have to
garbage at your door. You can't use the sanitation hardware. So they said, you know what? Let's just come and be going home. Water then was disconnected. We've also experienced some unfortunate incidents, such as the disconnection of water and blockage of sewer lines, not just at Steamer Plaza, but at other power offices in Nairobi. According to the chaos, the county government clamped and towed away vehicles parked around Steamer Plaza, despite the owners having paid for parking. I'm sorry, I know it's serious, but it just seemed very juvenile, this behavior. The parking around here is public, and the owners had paid for it. We can't explain why they've done this. The little issue of you disconnected their power.
They cannot explain.
But you know what? The thing that I also see of interest, it's like they were waiting for such an opportunity for them to display this mature behavior that they have.
Looks like it.
No, you only need to consider, have you ever come across the security officers we refer to as Kanjo?
Oh, yeah.
They are a nasty lot. They are an extremely nasty
The way they
lot
behave.
of people.
No.
Yes, they are nasty. Not, unpleasant is just somebody sort of like frowns at you. These people are nasty. So, if they are the ones who are given the go-ahead to go and be nasty.
This is like playground for them. It's like open season. Okay, you've given us the way. Now let us do this thing properly.
Someone parked their car in a public parking and they have paid.
Yeah.
And then you tow their car. I'd like to hear the story of those whose cars were towed, who then went to reclaim their cars.
I'm telling you
what they were told.
Comment section, get going. I want to hear some of these stories as well.
No, but seriously, what would you say? In another jurisdiction, do you know they'll sue you? They'll sue the city one time without even thinking.
How do you tow someone's car when all they've done is purchase in a certain jurisdiction?
Because you want to show Steamer, you want to show KPLC
Now,
that you know things.
That is the lawlessness, the horribility that I was speaking about.
Nasty.
Unpleasantly so.
I mean, it's terrible. But, you rack up a bill, first of all, let's just be honest, that even this bill is not a pretty number to look at.
Yeah, it's huge. It's crazy.
4.8 billion shillings is the amount of money that the Nairobi County government says it's owed by Kenya Power in accumulated way leave rental fees. So you see what they're saying. You guys, we are saying we owe you 3 billion shillings for power. You guys owe us 4.8 billion shillings. So now that you've disconnected our power, let's even show you what we can do. Throw garbage, block your taps, block your sanitation, and then we'll remove all vehicles from here because, after all, why should you be here? Come on.
How is that equivalent to paying up?
But this isn't the first time this has happened.
No, it's not, actually.
Yeah.
It's not.
No, and this is not the only county where it has happened. No.
It's a norm.
That government entities owe Kenya Power money. That is also the norm. They owe. Okay? Why it is they haven't ever arrived at an amicable solution to this problem, one doesn't really know.
Why can't you have a conversation? Is that all people? No. Yes, this is what I'm saying. Why can't you have a conversation? But this is what people do all the time. Okay, your 3 billion shillings. We know for a fact that you're not going to be able to pay that 3 billion shillings once. How about getting into a thing where you start to pay bit by bit?
Why wouldn't you just pay your bills?
They don't have 3 billion shillings to pay power today. They don't have.
Yeah,
but you use the power every day.
Not only that, there's 3 billion to pay other people, but not power.
They have priorities, no power.
They can't. Why should
and yet this is something you need.
And you use every day.
It is a need, necessity.
Yes,
you need to run that particular. But no, these people are, they're mature.
You've concluded it well.
Anyway.
Next story. Let's see what will happen today. Maybe somebody will pay a bill. Let's see if the garbage will actually move and the taps will be opened. But hey.
Page 5 of the Bold newspaper, because that's the paper I have. Allow me. Politics. Truthful man. Gachagwa's grip on Senate fades as allies are ousted. And we're looking at the shakeup that saw Gachagua loyalists removed from chairmanship roles in powerful committees, with their replacements drawn from factions aligned with those of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and President William Ruto. There's a number of names here. We're looking at Siaya Senator Oburu Oginga of ODM, who is Raila's elder brother, was last Thursday elected as the Senate Energy Committee chairperson, with Elgeyo Marakwet Senator William Kisang of UDA being re-elected vice chairperson. A number of these positions pretty much are being taken over following the broad-based government. And Raila and Ruto course meeting sets the stage for possible coalition. That is what you're seeing. One of our viewers had commented on what could be the twists and turns in as far as politics is concerned. The meeting, attended by the duo's trusted allies in a strong show of collaboration, hints at a new political direction. The pledge to consult on a 2027 alliance could reshape the country's political landscape. Baba Mesema Nimerejea Niko Town. Pretty much there's this war on the former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua's allies in both houses, in the National Assembly and in the Senate. Kuna waka waka. But he spoke yesterday with Jesse Rogers on KTN. You could follow that on YouTube as well. Pretty much he's not excited, and he has said that President William Ruto is intentionally trying to weaken a number of political bases aligned to him. Well, I'm just talking about politics. That is it.
Let me tell you something. These guys can do whatever they want. They can say whatever they want. They can align to whoever they want to align to and behave as though they are the ones who are deciding who's doing what. It's okay.
It's all right.
They can do whatever and say whatever they want. I think again, you can be aligning and non-aligning. You can be forming and not forming. You can be opposing and not opposing.
It's just a new season.
No problem.
Of the series of Kenya.
Yeah. This is just season 2025.
What's going on?
Yeah.
There'll be alliances, counter-alliances. There'll be interpretations. Political analysts will be going gaga over all this.
Oh, yes, predictions.
And analyzing and telling us what they see and how they see it and why they see it. So let's sit back and flow with the season.
Absolutely. And on that note, let's take a break before we come and look at some other stories that are in the headlines today. VetoFX is the platform that is making cross-border payments possible for your business, whether it's a small business, a medium business, or a large business enterprise. You don't have to worry anymore about, high costs. You don't have to worry about hidden charges. And you also can be sure that your money will make it across 190 countries in 49 different currencies. As a business, you don't have to worry that there will be something hidden. You can get across that. And all you need to do is go on to www.vertofx.com.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning at 15. We will see highs of 28. And we're looking into a partly cloudy Nakuru at 12 and a partly sunny Nyeri at 11. It's partly cloudy at 13 in Eldoret, while Mombasa is sunny at 25. It's going to be sunny through Tuesday at 25 currently in Malindi, 19 and clear in Kisumu, and 17 and cloudy in Kakamega. Kampala is clear at 20 and we'll see clear conditions for now at 27 in Dar es Salaam. And Johannesburg at 17 is clear and going into cloudy conditions at 24 in Mogadishu, while at 14 it is partly sunny in Addis Ababa. Cloudy at 27 in Lagos and 25 and cloudy in Kinshasa. It's 9 degrees and sunny into Beijing and 9 and cloudy in Paris. It's also 9 in London, 6 degrees and cloudy in New York.
Sugar and spice and everything nice.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
All right, looking at what traffic looks like this morning, starting into Tuesday. It's also busy coming on the Thika Superhighway into the city, and it looks like it'll be that way for a minute as you come in from Roiro out towards Kasarani and then onto the Thika Superhighway. That is pretty busy. Also looking at some traffic building up on on Outer Ring, finding its way towards the Eastern Bypass and going in the opposite direction as well. It's not too bad. then coming off of Jogoo Road as you get into the city. All right, that's what it looks like for now. Let's keep talking and keep things moving this Tuesday. SpiceFM KE on X, # The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
At about 6:45, looking at more stories in making the headlines today. CT?
There is a story on page 4 and 5. This is the NSSF contribution. A total of 490,835. This is the amount an employer would take home. An employee would take home after 30 years of contributing 200 shillings per month at the National Social Security
I see
Fund.
4,000?
490,000.
Oh, okay.
Would it be 200?
200 bob for 30 years. You're going to take home just under 500,000 shillings.
Yes, that's what happens. Okay?
Voila.
That's the preamble to what I'm about to say. However, with the employer matching that amount, assuming a steady 7% annual growth. Okay, that's the assumption. It sounds ludicrous, doesn't it? Fortunately, in 2023, everything changed when the NSSF Act of 2013 was finally implemented, setting, that is 10 years after the Act was put in place, was enacted, setting the stage for more substantial retirement savings model. The new framework gradually increased contributions to 6% of the employee's gross salary. With recent increases in taxes, many Kenyans will feel the sting of larger deductions on their pay slip. President William Ruto has previously defended these deductions, stating that the government aims to raise 1 trillion by 2027. That's 2 years from now, the year of the election. The amendment to the NSSF Act seeks to enhance retirement benefits by aligning contributions with the prevailing economic conditions, thereby increasing the fund's sustainability. We can improve our savings culture for better days in the future, says the president. Now, everything about this, if you take it at face value, is excellent. Because whatever it is that people had been paying, and when you consider the difficulties in even getting that money which you've been contributing to, whatever the government has suggested makes a lot of sense, and it then presents an employee with the sort of retirement package that can actually be useful to you in your retirement. In developed countries, it's even understood. What you get when you retire is 60% of what you used to earn and upwards. Some countries give you as much as 80%, some 70%. So when you retire, if you are earning, say, 10,000 shillings, you then earn 8,000 or 6,000. But in our setting here, if someone had been a teacher and taught for very, very many years, given the pittance the teachers were paid, or you're a policeman, and given the miserable amounts that you are paid, or you are a prison warden, and given now the pathetic amounts that you are paid, at the end of those 30 years, when you definitely need body part replacements, you will find that what you have, if you work it out on a monthly basis, is under 1,000 shillings. So the question would be, what are you supposed to do with that amount exactly? Okay? But then, of course, the government came in and brought in 2,000 shillings that is given for people who are either living with disability or people who've attained the age of 70 and beyond. The 2,000 shillings sounds like a good amount. It is actually insulting. Somebody who has contributed to the welfare of this country in the little way they could for all those years, they retire, and you're saying this is the amount that you feel is useful to them. To do what with exactly?
1,000 bob?
Or 2,000 shilling money kwa wazee and so forth. If indeed this is what the government is seeking to do, to ensure that people retire with dignity, then beyond just saying this is what you will get, or this is what will be deducted from your salary, there needs to be a comprehensive campaign to explain how exactly this is going to be guaranteed. It must be communicated effectively.
Right.
How The statement has been made. We have heard.
Okay.
Federation of Kenya Employers have told people implement. Employers, those who under their gambit employ. Core 2 boss Atuli has said this. It guarantees, it endorses a secure future. Okay, we've heard. Now we need to understand how all these things will be actualized. It must be inked.
It must be.
And yes, and the story must be told so that it is understood by those who are contributing.
You can imagine that people who retire, you don't want to play a guessing game. It's like playing Russian roulette. Will you actually get it or not? And if you're going to have some kind of policy that comes from the seat of government to have something like that done, people should be sure.
Yeah.
I'm retiring at the age of 60. I am getting into a place where I'm going to need, like you say, so many things come into play. No, it's not something that you should make a promise on. It's just like the health thing that we talk about. You should not make a promise on it and then start to gamble with it later.
Yeah.
People should be in other jurisdictions, people plan on their retirement. People know that my retirement is coming.
Yeah.
This 401k that you hear people shouting about all the time in the US, they know exactly how much they have inside that thing.
Yeah.
You know that if there's going to be money coming in when you're 70, when you're 80, you know how
and
much
you can
it
access
is.
it.
You can access it and you can plan for it. Not this other thing where we come here and we say, okay, yeah, we will do, and then maybe we'll
some hitches here and there. Fundamental things.
Not even
people.
The money?
People plan for it, and City has talked about guarantee, reassure. Right? It's also made it very clear that some, ink it. There's something about verbalizing things here to make people feel good. It's like music to the ears of Kenyans. People actually want things to work. I don't know who told people that it's fun to actually make people feel okay for a moment when you know for sure they're going to be retiring anyway, so they will retire, and they are paying this every month. That's for sure. But now it's time to get it. We have a moment of thought.
It would work even better if we found a way of ensuring that all these young people who are unemployed actually get something useful to do with themselves where they can earn a living. You know why? They will be able to contribute. That pot will be bigger. And they have a long way before they retire. So that contribution is what would be used to pay those who are about to retire. It's how it works. Okay? But so long as you have a huge population unemployed, these ambitions will remain just that, ambitions. Okay? So, a road map with all the pit stops mapped so that one understands and knows, and not delivered in a statement, but progressively communicated so that it is understood.
Across board.
Yes, it is understood.
Progressively.
Yes.
Communicated.
Okay. Those are the things we should.
Wow, that's a deep one.
Those are the things we should actually be concentrating on and making sure that your citizenry are taken care of.
Yeah.
From when we talk about from education towards retirement and all the things that need to happen, working in tandem to make sure that this cyclical nature of things is actually done. Not telling me who you are aligned to and how you want to. I beg. In another story, court blocks JSC from pursuing removal petitions against top judges. If you thought that wasn't going to happen, it did. The High Court yesterday barred the Judicial Service Commission from entertaining removal cases against Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu and Supreme Court judges Mohammed Ibrahim, Isaac Lenaola and William Okoh. In separate orders, Justice Bahati Mwamuye and Lawrence Mugambi issued the orders yesterday, barring the commission from entertaining or considering the petitions filed by lawyer Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, Dari Limited and Nelson Harvey. Now, according to the orders read in part, pending the inter partes hearing and determination of the petitioner for applicant's notice of motion application dated February 21st, a conservatory order is hereby issued staying and or suspending JSC petition, etc. number, versus and 5 others versus Honorable Chief Justice Martha Karambu Kome and 6 others, and JSC petition of Nelson Harvey versus Honorable Chief Justice Martha Karambu Kome and 6 others. Basically, they're saying, stop it. You're not able to move forward. Now, this comes as another grand battle was lodged by a lawyer before Justice Chacha Mwita with a case filed to strip senior lawyers in 2013, 2020 and 2022 cohorts of the title. In his case, James Nyanyi targets legal bigwigs Among them, Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, Rachel Omamo, Senators Okoh Mogeni, and Professor Tom Ogenda, Professor Kemeri Mbote, Lucy Kamboni, Kenneth Fraser, Feroz Nauraji, Kenneth Akide, George Oraro, James Orengo, Keriaki Tobiko, and Professor Githu Mwigai. He claimed that the process of appointing the senior lawyers was vague during the appointment of 4 cohorts. Now, this is another story on the side of it.
This one is going to boil nicely, isn't it?
Proper.
Vague.
Yeah, because how did they become senior counsel?
And how did the others become senior
Yeah,
counsel?
how did the others become senior
Why
counsel?
How do you become
senior
counsel?
Is it after years of practice? Is it after significant cases that you've actually been able to handle? Because I doubt that you'd be able to come in and handle a divorce settlement and then you'd be called senior counsel.
And should it be standard?
No, it must be standard.
Yeah,
it must
because
be something that
these
you have.
people are and these are.
So he alleged that the president appointed 20 advocates, all of whom were previous chairpersons of LSK and were alive except for Archu Kapila. According to the lawyer, the list did not emanate from the list prepared by the Committee of Senior Counsel. He said that 15 advocates were appointed in 2013, 2020, and 8 in 2022. So that's what's happening there. But let's look at the questions that have been raised as concerns the issues for the Supreme Court. Now, number one, question raised whether JSC has powers to review, consider, or question judicial decisions of the Supreme Court, whether the JSC exceeded its constitutional mandate by entertaining petitions. Remember what the JSC said. They got the petition, the initial petition. They now gave a time frame of 14 days to the Chief Justice and the 6 others to respond. Now, the question that's being raised here is that now whether JSC actually had the power of the mandate to perform that particular action of requesting an answer to the petition from the Chief Justice. The question is being raised also as to whether requiring the judges to respond to the challenges of the Supreme Court's performance as an institution rather than judicial misconduct, whether JSC is required to conduct a preliminary assessment of petitions, and it goes on and on and on. But all of these questions are circling around whether JSC essentially had the power and mandate to reprimand and summon
Do you know
the
what
Supreme
door
Court.
this has actually opened? Remember, the judiciary is an arm of government, huh?
Yes.
Okay, and you are saying there's this small department called Supreme Court. Huh?
Yes.
We want these fellows removed. Okay, arm of government. Now extend that particular thinking to other arms of government and see what comes up.
The executive and the legislature?
Yes. If we talk about the decisions that the legislature has made regarding, for instance, the loans that we get and the ceilings that we set, and also the budgeting process and what it is that they allocate for what we may consider citizens as key fundamental services to the citizenry, and the priorities that they have given, allocating huge amounts, 1.8 billion, we're told yesterday, allocated for what? Health, isn't it? Primary health care. 15 billion allocated to the office of the president, Prime Cabinet Secretary and the deputy. President. Okay? Now, if one were to take that and say, why don't we censure this entire parliament?
Yeah.
Okay? Yes.
Because it is you.
Because it is them who made that decision. It's a budget-making parliament.
Right.
And this is what they've done. And if we take the same argument now to the executive and say, okay, the executive, how have they gone about doing the job they are supposed to do in terms of ensuring the safety of its citizens, ensuring that the citizens receive the services that they should? Let's talk of capitation.
Right.
Bang, at the door of what? The executive. Now, and we say, why don't we censure the entire executive?
Absolutely.
This door that has been opened, somebody will wish they hadn't opened it.
I'm telling you, because if that's just the truth. Because if you're asking questions about the conduct of an arm of government, that's what you're doing.
That's what you've done.
Then you can as well ask questions about the other arms of government.
Same piercing question.
Same kinds of questions. Because there are certain things that you have done that have landed us in pot X.
All right.
There are certain things that you have done that have abrogated the rights of individuals in the country. Children, the sick, the vulnerable, based on decisions that you've made. You raised the debt ceiling. You allowed for the debt ceiling to be raised. What does that do? It plunges Kenya deeper into debt, and it reduces the amount of money that you use for things like development, the amount of money that you use to pay capitation, the amount of money that is currently non-existent to pay levels 1 and 3 of Taifa Care. That's exactly, when you want to get down to the nitty-gritty, that is what we're talking about. That as a result of the decision that you made, 70 shillings out of 100 shillings of every 100 shillings that Kenya makes goes towards paying debt. It precludes you from doing other things. Hadn't we better come and ask you then, my friend, hey, we petition you to tell us how you made this decision. And in the event that you cannot answer, come and do what?
Go home.
And I think the beauty of this is that the power is right here. You and I, that's the power. Let's do what we have to do. But all these three arms of government should be held accountable in that regard.
We continue with more conversations as we continue with this. Good morning. It is 7 a.m.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Lea Ubaga. An inquest into the death of British businessman Campbell Scott is set to take place today after his body was confirmed yesterday to be the one found decomposing in a sack in Makongo Forest, Makueni. Makueni County Police Commander Alice Kimeli said an inquest would be held today at the Makueni Referral Hospital. Two people, a taxi driver and club attendant, have already been arrested on suspicion of kidnapping and murder. The body was discovered by herders grazing in Makongo Forest in Makueni County on Saturday, with initial investigations indicating that the late Campbell was strangled before being stuffed into a sack and dumped in the forest. Campbell was reported missing while he was scheduled to attend a 3-day data analysis workshop starting February 18th, hosted by TransUnion, with senior officials from the UK, US and several African countries. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua now says the purported plans by his former boss, President William Ruto, to remove Chief Justice Martha Koome from office extend a long way into the past. Interviewed by KTN TV, Gachagua has also said that the Mount Kenya community only has a problem with Kenya Kwanza administration, but not ODM's Raila Odinga.
Yes, it is. I was Deputy President and Principal Assistant to President William Ruto, and I'm privy to many things. I also have a responsibility as a leader in this country to let the people of Kenya know what is happening. President William Ruto schemed a long time ago to remove Justice Martha Koome as Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court because of refusing to be compromised.
And he shared this with you?
He shared with me, and many times he even quarreled me that a daughter from the mountain is being problematic and accused me of being unable to manage Martha Koome.
Gachagua further said that he's willing to work with any leader who has the interest of Kenyans at heart, including Odinga, who was being misused by Ruto.
From my working with President William Ruto, let them be very careful. I have heard them promise him to be Prime Minister. That is a lie, it's conmanship. There is no such position available in this country because it's not in the Constitution. Yes. But I'm saying we are not opposed to working with Raila Odinga.
You're willing to support?
Already we are working with Kalonzo Musyoka.
Okay.
We are working with Eugene Wamalwa. We are working with Fred Matiang'i. We are working with Eugene Wamalwa. We are working with all like-minded Kenyans.
His remarks comes at a time when the former Prime Minister has said that he'll make his political move public in the next coming days, further thanking those who supported his AUC bid.
I'm going to meet with my friends, my supporters, and I'm going to consult widely what's going on forward. And in due course, we're going to announce our way forward. So we'll give a way forward very, very shortly. But today, we just came to meet, asked for this meeting to come and thank the President and his team for the support they've given me, and also to thank the Kenyans who have supported me throughout all this period of campaign.
Now, responding to Gachagua on the Koome matter, Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has said the removal of a judge from office is not a political or ethnic issue. Gachagua had alleged that President William Ruto had hatched a plan to remove Koome from office, saying the president should not set foot in Meru should he succeed. Mombasa Governor Abdul Swamad Nasir, who's been speaking in Changamwe, where he accompanied President Ruto, who's touring the coast, also slammed Gachagua over his remarks.
Hawa wana walikoni na watu wa Mombasa, watu ambao hawawezi kukubali lugha ya ukabila iweze kuingia. Na mimi kama gavana wao, hawa waliniajiri, mimi ni wa kwanza nitasema, yule anayeleta ukabila katika Kenya hii is a madman who deserves to go to a mental facility.
And finally, in the international news, Roberta Flack, the US singer behind a string of hits, including Killing Me Softly with his song, has died aged 88. According to her spokesperson, she died peacefully surrounded by her family. Roberta broke boundaries and records. She was also a proud educator. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
5 minutes after 7 o'clock, and welcome into the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this Tuesday, the 25th of February. And even as we get into agenda setting conversations this hour, thank you for keeping it the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation, every weekday from 6 to 10. Ndru, CT and Anki, Dorice with you this morning. And as we get into more conversations this hour, CT, yesterday you started off the week waving your diamond wand with diamond dust. Are you still doing the same today?
I am actually. And the wand is still the same. And what it promises is also still the same. So let me just go over this sameness that I'm referring to. Diamond Trust Bank. This is what they are saying. We have a mortgage plan that can meet your needs and can suit the size and the ability of your pocket. There are people who want to buy houses. There are people who want to live in a dwelling that they call their own. And many think it's beyond their reach. Diamond Trust is saying it doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
You only need to come to us to talk to us physically. If you come to any of our branches or send us an email at mortgages at dtbafrica.com, or better still, listen to CT Muga as he explains to you what it is that you need to consider. Loans for buying houses, what we refer to as mortgages, can be gotten at 9% if you wish to take a mortgage for 10 years. If you wish to take a mortgage for 25 years, you are able to get it at 9.75%. Remember, these are single-digit mortgages. 9.5%. It doesn't matter whether you are employed, whether you are self-employed, and whether you are in the diaspora. You can access a loan of up to 105% if you're employed. If you're in the diaspora, you can access a mortgage of up to 80%. Now, it doesn't end there. This is where you hold your breath and you listen keenly.
Here we go.
There are no hidden charges.
Okay.
If you have a schedule of payment and you pay ahead of the schedule, there are no penalties. Okay? If you want to confirm all this, let's go back to what I mentioned at the beginning.
Yes.
Either talk directly to Diamond Trust branch by visiting physically any branch to inquire, or just send an email, mortgages@dtbafrica.com.
Good stuff.
That's it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, Tuji Ajiri, it's under the KCB Foundation, and they said, you know what? we see the folks who get into the job market or into the business market every year who don't have the skills that they need to be able to make the connect. So we're going to step in and say, okay, let's link you to training programs and in different places around the country, and let's make sure that you can actually get the skills that you require to get the job done. So whether it is in the field of masonry, whether it is engineering, automotive engineering, whether it's beauty and design, whether it's the culinary arts, whatever the case may be, you take a 6-month course, you get out of the 6-month course, the program still holds your hand and says, okay, what can we do next? Can we fix you in with a job? Can we help you start a business? Can we connect you with the much needed credit for starting a business? Let's go ahead and do that. So the 2JG program has been helping young people in different cohorts and has trained over 155,000 young people so far. And they want to do it some more. Between the ages of 18 to 35, you can actually come in, get this much needed skilled training, and then move on to a job or into a business. You can get it to it as well. Find out more information, www.kcbgroup.com/foundation. All right, we're getting into our conversation for this hour. And even as we do, our guest is already seated. The national chairman of the National Council of Churches of Kenya is Reverend Dr. Elias Otieno Agola, and he's our guest this hour. Reverend Agola, good morning.
Good morning, Do. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Yes.
How are you doing?
Very good. I'm okay.
Good.
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Still strong in the service. Asante sana.
Asante sana. We're having a conversation this morning about the role of the church in agenda setting, an agenda setting for country, an agenda setting for government, and not just setting the agenda, but living out that agenda. And that's the conversation that we have this morning. Before we get into that conversation proper, CT, as you know, goes to a different African country every week. Don't ask us how. He has his ways. You heard he even has a magic wand that he uses for spreading diamond dust. So going to every different African countries every week is not a big deal for him. The good thing about what he does when he comes back is that he comes back with a basket full of proverbs from each country. And this week he'll tell you where we are, and he'll share that proverb, and then you can tell us how you would interpret it and what you think of that.
It's okay.
Okay, super.
Yeah.
Our proverbs for this week come from the Republic of Mali. Yes. It is the 8th largest country in West Africa by land mass. Previously, a huge and very, very progressive kingdom, a center of learning, and a center for the Islamic faith that was based in Timbuktu. That's a story for another day. The proverb. God gives nothing to those who keep their arms crossed.
Yeah.
He says, yeah, that's it. That's how I interpret it.
God gives nothing to those who keep their arms crossed. It's a wonderful proverb, eh?
Yes.
Well, that proverb, I believe, takes us back to the story of creation and the instructions that were given during creation. When God had finished creating, he was able to look and assess all that he has created. And day 1, he says, good. Day 2, good. Day 3, good. Day 6, he said, very good. And that which God created and said, it is very good, he ended up instructing humanity to work and to take care of everything that he has created. And it is from work, and work here is knowing your purpose. Work here is doing that which you know you are created for. And work here is also exploiting your potential and doing something that can place even food on your table. So God gives nothing to those who cross their hands. Simply says, God says, work and do that which you are supposed to do, serving God's purpose in your generation. Thank you.
Asante sana. I mean, we have a reverend here, so we would not expect that it would go different from that.
No. He has put it well.
Very well.
Yeah.
And he's even given a background to it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes sense. Perfect sense.
It does.
And brought in the generational, perspective.
The National Council of Churches of Kenya, we know, is a body that puts, brings together Protestant churches as well as Christian organizations, and also looking into service, looking into advocacy, as well as essentially making sure that the citizens of the country are, brought together in proper light. The church has also, and the representatives, the representative body. But we've seen the church, also with the NCCK, in the last couple of months, be very vocal about how the affairs of the country are being run. And has been very vocal on matters corruption, has been vocal on matters protests, whereby they say, look, allow Kenyans to be able to say what it is that they need to say on matters the economy. And then very clear and direct messages to the person of the president when it comes to how this country should be led. So it is clear that religious organizations, in this case, as we discussed, the church, have a direct role in as far as governance is concerned. Now, how have we seen that role play out vis-a-vis the current situation in the country and how things have been over the last few months?
Thank you, Andu. The National Council of Churches, as you have rightly put it, the NCCK, is not just one of the oldest, but the oldest religious coordinating body in Kenya, and also among the first in the world, older than even the World Council of Churches of Kenya. And that means that the National Council of Churches of Kenya, having been around so many years, has a role to play and knows what we are supposed to do, when and how. In the past, we've been addressing issues, and even now, we have not silenced our voices and still continue to say that nobody can silence the voice of the church, not just NCCK, but the entire church, because church is an older institution created by only the Creator, who is God. And so every time we speak to power, or we speak to other leaders, be it in the church, be it in corporate world, we are doing our work. We are doing that which we were formed to do, to speak truth to power, to know that truth, and to guide using that truth. When we talk about knowing the truth, we are saying it is our mandate to teach the citizenry on what they need to know and how they need to do whatever they need to know. And so is placing on the table to the people what they are supposed to do and helping them to understand that if they don't do it, nobody else is going to do it. This takes me back to the preamble of our constitution that says we the people, meaning the country belongs to the people. It is the people that are the owners of the country. And in fact, if there is anybody who is supposed to be called excellency, it is supposed to be the citizens of Kenya. It's supposed to be the people of Kenya, because they are the owners of the work. When you walk into an institution, even this one, who is the topmost person? Is the owner. So the owner, who is holding brief on behalf of God, are the people of Kenya. So the church has always spoken on behalf of the people of Kenya and directing the agenda to the people who are supposed to act, and show them by reminding them, because they are supposed to have known, and in fact they know that the people are watching, and the people see what the leaders who are given that opportunity as a delegated role to to do and to deliver. So be it in the church, the people who have given us the opportunity to serve, they are watching. Be it in the country, the people are watching. Everywhere we go, the people who have given you that opportunity, they are watching. Even now we are here, those who have granted you the opportunity to lead these discussions, they are watching.
Indeed.
So there is that which they expect. And us as the church, being closer to the people, we hear what people say on a daily basis. And when we hear what they are saying, we are just echoing what they are saying. And therefore we are doing our role. I talked of we need to know the truth, which we always know, and we need to live that truth, which we do to our ability and our expectations, and we need to speak the truth. And the areas where we speak the truth, we will explore them in this show. Thank you.
All right, let me just pick it from there, Reverend. The Kenya's 2010 Constitution, I believe, speaks to, or rather provides for separation of church and the state. And I want to understand, or pick on your understanding on that, because then you're saying you close to the people. And of course, like any other administration, they want to know what the ground is saying. But where do you draw the line, really? The separation between the church and the state and how you understand it constitutionally. Perhaps if you could shed light from your perspective.
When the Constitution says that there is a separation between the church and
the state,
it only refers to some roles.
Okay.
But when it comes to the real leadership, the real engagement with the people, you cannot separate that.
Which roles? Which are your roles?
For example, our key role in the society is to talk about the morality of the society, to call people to order, and to tell people that there is that which may be going wrong, and we are watching, we are seeing it. And when we go wrong, we can also point it out to ourselves.
All right.
And say, here, we are not doing it right. So that role of ensuring that things are done in the right way, and ensuring that those who are given the responsibilities to serve the country, and not themselves. That is the key role that we have as the religious institution.
All right.
To call people back to the order that they are supposed to follow as the people created by God in His image. So that we speak to issues of politics and say, yes, you are holding the political leadership, but you need to define what politics is. Politics in Greek is from the word politikos, which is to do with the policies in a particular area or village, the policies of the village.
Okay.
So you cannot say that since you bear the name politician, whoever is a leader and does not bear that name should not talk about politics.
Okay.
It is the role of the church to point out when things go wrong, because we are part and parcel of the governance of this country.
Can you talk a little bit about the ecumenical duties that the NCCK has, so that our listeners can actually understand? Because one hears of National Christian Council of Kenya, but those functions may not be clear to others.
We have what is called religious coordinating bodies.
Yes.
And in the Muslim, they have theirs. In fact, they have two. They have the Namlef, they have the Supkem. When you come to Christianity, we have about 5 that are recognized. But these 5, the one with the majority and the oldest is NCCK. In other words, we also have the EAK, Evangelical Alliance of Kenya.
Yes.
We also have the KCCB, the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops. Then we also have the SDA Secretariat. At the same time, we have the OAIC, the Organization of African Instituted Churches. But the one that has the most number of denominations and the oldest and the missionary rooted denominations is NCCK. Our major work is to help the unity of the Christian church. In fact, let me go back and say that ecumenism is to say that we are from a particular religion and we profess the same faith. We may have other ways of expressing that faith, but there are fundamental doctrines that guide the Christian faith, and all of us subscribe to that. Every doctrine that talks about the supremacy of the Word of God and the faith that we profess, that one brings us together. So the National Council of Churches of Kenya is the body that brings together all the Christian religious organizations, and we have a number that is close to 17 million Kenyans that are members of the NCCK. So we coordinate them. We speak on behalf of these institutions, especially when we gather their leadership, and we want to speak to a certain thing. Then all their leadership, the top leadership of these churches, including Anglican, Presbyterian, Methodist, and the likes, we come together. We say this is what we would want to address because this is what is happening. And when we also hear another religious coordinating body have also spoken the same thing that we are speaking, or we had them speak first, we add our voices to what they are saying. So there is no day we will contradict what the Catholics are saying. There is no day we will also contradict what the others are saying, especially those who are properly and formally constituted. But we have some that are not properly constituted. Just like in any area, you may also have people who are not properly constituted. Like here in the media, you have people who call themselves media, but they don't subscribe to the tenets of the media fraternity.
Indeed.
Yes.
So I think that's a great jumping platform into now one of the big issues that has always come through. That when we look at agenda setting, the question coming directly to the front doorstep of the church is, why is there constantly acceptance of politicians who choose to use the platform of the church to essentially sanitize whatever actions they may take or whatever actions they plan to take? And there has been historic acceptance of this by the church over and over again, and it looks as though that hasn't stopped. That churches can be used as stomping grounds by politicians to set a particular agenda, and that we don't hear a comeback from the church about that. We've heard in some instances whereby, they've said you will not use the pulpit to come and set your agenda. You will not use the church to sanitize by giving money. But it doesn't seem to be a blanket across the board unified position that the church has taken, as opposed to what you've said about how one body will never go against what another body within the NCCK is saying. But it seems to be different in practice. Why?
Well, I believe you may be having examples which you would want to cite.
Absolutely.
But,
a few months ago, the Catholic Church came out very clearly and said, we are not going to continue to take these donations. In fact, there was one very special case of when one said, come and take the donation that you had given here at the church directly to the president, not anybody else. Take this money that you've given back. But it seems as though the next weekend there can be a funeral and somebody else is speaking at a funeral and decides we're going to make this funeral service into a pontification of politics, and then at the same time we can give something to the church and there's an acceptance of the same. Where are we?
And just to add, aren't they always in churches every Sunday? No wonder we have some news coming up every Monday, because every Sunday there is a politician in a particular church. There are flyers out there for them, and they're on those particular platforms and dioceses actually speaking politics in the church in as recent as last Sunday.
Yeah. You want to continue?
No, I am marveling because that we, the media, have been very willing allies in everything that we are saying.
Yes.
It's because we are the ones who give prominence to politicians. We are the ones who give prominence to the things they do. And I've always wondered, do we give the religious organizations the same attention and the same presence? And I have wondered myself, and I am in the media.
Good. Great. I am happy that you have become a good Christian.
This morning.
We can make you. we can make you a religious leader,
right?
So that at least you also. But you have to follow a process. Very good questions. I've just told you that religious coordinating bodies exist to call religious leaders to order, to help them manage everything that is at their disposal, and especially the places of worship. There comes a time when we also need to understand that politicians are also members of our churches. The bad thing that may have happened and continues to happen in some churches, I would say some churches, is that when they come for worship, we put them as centers of worship at the same time. That we condemn, because when a politician comes to church, or let me give an example, even me, when I go to a church and somebody notices I am there, there is a tendency of thinking that they would bring me to the front. Sometimes I say no, because I just went there as a worshipper. I didn't go there in my position as the chairman of NCCK. I didn't go there in my position as the one who is the director of Justice, Peace, Reconciliation and Creation Department in PCA. I went there as a worshipper, and I should be treated as such. But we see some people go overboard and admit the politicians even to the front to talk. And there is where they may not tame their tongues and say whatever they want to say. But I would want to say that those are exceptionals. I want to concur with my friend here that sometimes the media also does, you do things that sometimes don't align well, because when you are looking for news, I believe when I talk about some things from the Word of God and expound that in a sermon, it should also be taken. It should also be taken as part of the news. As part of the news. That a minister so and so, a preacher so and so said 1, 2, 3, and that should be taken as part of the news. You referred to Sunday. Sunday is just the other day, and what happened in Mombasa? A very respected bishop, Wilfred Lai, preached a very powerful sermon. I watched that sermon for a whole hour, and it was a powerful sermon. Was it even? Did it even have a news bite? Was there anything that could be picked by media to air? Had it not been for the social media that exposed what he said, and again in their own context, they would say whatever they wanted, the sermon to mean. But there are always something that we speak from the pulpit. It should also be captured on the same clip. We should say the pastor said this, but the politician also said this. But I know news is news when you bite a dog.
Look, I mean, when you bite a dog, that's for the news, absolutely. Look, I mean, I don't think we can shirk away from that responsibility, especially here where we keep saying that, religious organizations, and here we're talking about the church in particular, have a role to play in agenda setting, have a role to play in governance. Sure, then it behoves us who report on the news to then be able to say what is actually being said in those circles. Unfortunately, most times it's the other side that gets most of the story. I'm very clear in my mind about when former provost of the Anglican Church, one Sammy Wainaina, spoke in church on a Sunday morning, and the politicians who had come to church and they wanted to do all this fanfare, and he stood on the pulpit and he said, no, I'm not going to allow this to happen. You've come and worship like anybody else, and if you have something to say, you may go outside after the service and have your little, meeting with whomever you need to, but do not do this here. Also took the opportunity in that service to talk about certain things that he saw going wrong. Now, it made the news on that particular day because of what he had said before that. But are we saying now at this point that newsmen and women can actually come into church every Sunday and get the message that is being given to the nation? Is that something that should be or can be regular? Because it is the platform that you have. Media have this platform. The church has that platform of the pulpit every Sunday or every Saturday. Should that be the place where the news comes from?
That should be the place where the news come from, and we always have news. But news has to be reported to become news. Otherwise, it remains with the people that you have talked to, and you only expect them to behave towards what you have said. Having said that, it is clear that whenever religious leaders talk, and especially the genuine religious leaders, I would say genuine, because there are some religious leaders who would want to follow politicians, maybe for their own personal gain, not for the gain of the kingdom of God. But those who stand with the truth, you have just mentioned Canon Maina. I would also mention my colleague, Bishop Muheria. Bishop Muheria talked the other day.
Yes.
And when he talked the other day, you can imagine what was reported after from the politicians, when some of them even said they don't want to go to church. Yes, a church, all people who come to church come on voluntary basis.
Right.
And even when they come to church, some of the people who say they don't want to go to church are the same people who, when they come to church, they are not coming to worship. They are coming to
set an agenda,
to set the agenda, to talk the agenda, and they even end up abusing one another in the church.
Indeed.
So we would rather not have them in church if they are coming to abuse people in church. But we will always speak the truth to power. We'll speak the truth to our colleague leaders in whatever sector, and we will say that Kenya is not a place where you just come and even talk a vulgar language and you are a leader.
Exactly.
You know what just happened the other days in these rallies, where some people would call others stupid, foolish, what, and all that. It's not so good. What are we passing on to these generations that are below us?
Good questions.
Are we like telling them that we can use unacceptable language, and then we call them back to order and tell them you have to behave well? I believe that the churches that are under NCCK and those that are under the formal religious coordinating bodies, they know how to behave and they know how to handle issues in a more morally accepted way. Yeah.
The Reverend Dr. Elias Otieno Agola is our guest this hour, and we are he is the chairman of the National Council of Churches of Kenya, and we're looking into the role of the church in agenda setting for the nation. We're going to come back and look at some specifics coming in from this break. It's 23 minutes to 8.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start
Some
your day.
days just have you feeling, you know the ones. Very few aha moments, just moments. Maybe even a few because how can a day this good feel so meh? But then, you realize your moment of escape is a cup of indulgence away. Delamere. Get lost in rich, creamy, flavorful bliss with every spoonful of Delamere real fruit yogurt. Indulge in the moment.
Running a business in Kenya and struggling with slow, expensive cross-border payments? With Verto, you can send and receive money globally, faster, cheaper, and hassle-free. Pay suppliers, collect payments, and expand internationally with ease. 49 currencies, 190 plus countries. One powerful platform, better rates, faster settlements, secure transactions, global payments made easy. Sign up today at www.vertofx.com. Verto, your global business payments partner.
The weather with SpiceFM.
Partly cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning at 15, and it's 12 and cloudy in Nakuru, and 11 and sunny in Nyeri, 13 and cloudy into Eldoret, while Mombasa at 25 is sunny, Malindi at 25 is sunny as well. It's 19 and clear in Kisumu and 17 and cloudy in Kakamega. Kampala is clear at 20 and 27 and sunny in Dar es Salaam. It's 17 and clear in Johannesburg, while at 24 Mogadishu is cloudy, and it's cloudy at 14 in Addis Ababa. 27 and cloudy in Lagos, with partly cloudy conditions at 25 in Kinshasa.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
As we are in traffic hour, a quick look at what it looks like now. Really busy getting into the city, coming off the Thika Superhighway, and we're now seeing traffic starting to build coming off of Ngong Road, getting into the city as well. As you come off of Langata Road, bumper to bumper traffic moving very slowly, and you're going to find some of that traffic coming in towards Awings Kodek, going out then towards Gitanga Road. So that's doing a whole thing of busyness on its own. Also taking a look at coming off of the Eastern Bypass, there is traffic there touching on Outer Ring coming in towards North Airport Road, and a little bit of traffic that's forming right around the ICD, trying to find its way towards Mombasa Road. So that's busy this morning as well. We are in traffic hour. Let's see how we traverse it this morning and talk and keep things moving on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The Reverend Dr. Elias Otieno Agola is the chairman of the National Council of Churches of Kenya. We're having an agenda setting conversation, as we normally do here on the Situation Room, and asking questions about, all right, so where is the role of the church square right where it should be at the moment, and doing what it ought to do in terms of expectations of Kenyans. Is it filling that role of expectation?
Yes, the role of the church, as I've said, is to look at what happens in the country and ensures that we have a timely response in terms of guiding, in terms of adding our voice to what is going on, and in terms of ensuring that things go well. I may mention a few, that one of our roles is to ensure that we talk about moral and ethical guidance. Mm-hmm. Moral and ethical guidance, where the church provides that moral and ethical guidance, and the church becomes an example of the same. And where we see that there is a decay, we have to raise our voice and say something is wrong. And we come up again and help the people of Kenya to align to the moral expectations that are required of them. We are also here to advocate for social justice. Mm-hmm. Every time that we see the issues that are derailing social justice, the issues of inclusion, talking to the marginalized, the poor, the women, the youth. We have to raise our voice to that. So where somebody sees you to be an enemy just because you have spoken your mind and you have raised your voice, then that should not be allowed to go without a say.
And it needs to be clear, doesn't it? And
Yes.
I'm going to just point towards the statement that we heard come from Archbishop Mwaura just a few days ago, where he was not confused in what he said.
No.
He went to the point and went to the point straight, because sitting in a place of leadership in the church, he's come out and said, look, if we're going to talk about social justice, these are some of the things that we're talking about. He said, first of all, the government has made certain promises in the run-up to an election, which they have not kept. Their pledges that they've made, they have not kept. Their promises that they've made, they have not kept. And he said, this needs to stop, because now what you're doing is that you're likening yourself to an advertising agency and not fulfilling on the promise of the advertisement. He also went on to say certain things about a health system, Taifa Care, that is not working. And he said, look, we can see the ills in society. We can see the things that you said you were going to do. SHA, for example, is not working, and it's not functioning in the manner in which you told Kenyans that it was going to function in. He also went on to talk about the fact that you have so many projects that you've started as government, but you have not implemented them. What is the problem? We have issues of corruption. Monies are being taken. Monies are being lost. We see justice not being seen from end to end. He was very clear about some of these things. It was not jumbled up. It was not confusing. He said what he said, and it was very clear. Many would argue that that's the kind of voice that you need to be raised not once a month, but every day.
Every day. So again, I would put it this way, that Mwaura, Archbishop, talks again on his own behalf as Kenyan, on behalf of his Archdiocese, and on behalf of the Catholic Church. In our NCCK Church, we have these same voices every Sunday. The moderator of the General Assembly of PCA talks about these things every Sunday. Wherever I am, I talk about these things every Sunday. We have Archbishop Olesapit, the Bishop of the Anglican Church, and we have the presiding Bishop of Methodist, Right Reverend Lydiah. We talk about these things every Sunday, but when it is not exposed the way Archbishop Mwaura was exposed, then again it remains with the people who heard them. But we are saying that we are not quiet. The church has always been speaking these issues, and even here on this show, allow me to add my voice and say, we are tired of these advertisement agencies from the government, where we advertisement appeals to the feelings of the people. It is one of, when you see it, then it talks to you there and and you think it is going to be done the other minute. So what are we saying? You have promised so many things. Where is the result? And if you have a good plan, where is the communication on that plan? On this show again, I said that we are tired of talking. Let us see the work. And if it is SHA, how would people be dying and you say SHA is working? How would people be dying? How would the university students miss exams and you say everything is working? How would education suffer and you say everything is working? We always say these things because it is something that our children need to get, something that our patients need to get, and something that we have to always talk about it. And we add our voice to what Archbishop Mwaura said, that we are tired of being shown rosy pictures of what is supposed to be done. We would want to see action. And that is one of the agenda that we set. Then in the political engagement, you cannot tell us that we stick to the pulpit. When we stick to the pulpit, we'll say things from the pulpit. But when we hear counter-attacks from people who don't even know a lot about what we talk from the pulpit, then it is like somebody has sent them to talk to the church ruthlessly. And that cannot be tolerated. Because a country where people don't respect their religious leaders, and especially when they point out to the things that even you know are not going well, then that country is heading to the drain, which is not very good.
Allow me to interject, because you mentioned the political aspect, and I want to give you the reality of what Kenyans are saying, especially after the 2022 elections, let alone the Jubilee elections. That is when Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto were a pair. And looking progressive, let's just go back a bit in hindsight. When Jomo Kenyatta was in power, it wasn't so obvious for him in as far as religion and the state was concerned. Moi era as well, it becomes more pronounced with the Uhuru Kenyatta's era and now Ruto's era. And someone would just ask, perhaps if I just give a bit of statistics in the religious line, according to the 2019 population census, the Kenya government estimated that approximately 85.5% of the total population is Christian. All right, that is, I'm just giving that 85.5%.
Yes.
Now, if you, and I know you hear these things, especially during the Gen Z protests, they said, could the churches please stop entertaining what you also agree with looks like an advertisement agency? And you do realize that the confidence that your congregants had in you, a little bit, it's gone down in as far as that mix between the state and the church is concerned. I'm thinking, would you rather the church speaks truth to power, but refrain and restrain from looking like they are active in campaigning periods? All right? Because what happened this time is the church came out so strongly, like it's campaigning, is it, for Kenya Kwanza? And after things went south, the citizens called you out and said, don't call them out, you ordained them, you made them look good, you made us vote for them. And I don't know how you'd clarify this kind of beliefs by the citizens, that you're part of the campaigning, you endorse these people, you make them vote for them, you align them in that voting pattern, and then you come out to say this is wrong, you lied to Kenyans. Would it be easier if the church would be silent more during the campaigning period and maybe help in calling out when the social injustices happen? What do you think?
Yeah, I would want to say that, yes, there are some churches that are aligned to that kind of a campaign, but not all churches were aligned to that campaign.
But the ones that were there were also churches?
That's true.
Okay.
And that's why I've said it is some churches that were aligned to that campaign. But we cannot say that the church was aligned to that campaign. Because when you say the church was aligned to that campaign all over the country, there are some regions where the Kenya Kwanza was not a popular candidate, but were there churches there? So when you say the church did it, it's good to say, yes, some churches are aligned to that, but not all churches. So it is wrong to put all the churches in that blanket and say that, yes, all the churches campaigned for this. Well, it sounds a bit better, a bit good, but it's not good at all.
Let's go with the some churches. Yes, now, those churches that were involved.
Yes, those churches that were involved. Maybe they have their own convictions, but the truth of the matter is that it is wrong for churches to align themselves to a particular candidate, because there is the after the elections. Somebody will lose, another one will win. Or your candidate may win, but when they get over to the other side, they become a completely different person. And that is the scenario in Kenya today. So we would not want to urge churches to align themselves with particular political interest or campaign for any particular candidate. But we should speak the truth and remain at that level.
Reference is made to times in history where it was very clear about particular church leaders who would essentially lay their lives down to insist that a certain moral compass is followed. If we come towards today and the things that we see, yes, we do see. I mean, we have to say it when we do that. We do see more that is coming from the church. We do see a lot that's coming from the church. Do you think it is necessary to remove church leaders from their platforms for these cases specifically. And I explain what I mean. That Sunday sermons will continue. That's it, as they should. But do you think it's necessary for church leaders to come out off of the pulpit, whether it is during meetings, whether it is calling press conferences on a regular, whether it is talking to people outside of the congregation about some of these agenda setting issues that we're talking about? Is that necessary, or is the pulpit sufficient? Is enough being done?
The pulpit has not been sufficient, and it is true that a lot needs to be done and should be done. But I would also say that in NCCK, for example, we engage with people outside the pulpit in their regions. That's why you sometimes see us on your bulletins when we have talked. The same thing that we raise in Nairobi is also raised in Nairobi, in Mombasa, and in other parts. We have 9 regions as NCCK, and in every county we have a county coordinating committee. For NCCK, we talk the same thing. When we raise that at the national level, then you find the same thing being raised in the region and in the counties. But again, in our local churches. So not only from the pulpit will we be talking about these issues, or have we been talking about these issues. We raise them in our regions and in our grassroots. So you are right when you say the pulpit is not sufficient, because the pulpit is only for that Sunday. How about the daily life? Again, we have programs, governance programs, civic education programs, where we raise the issues of governance and the issues of political involvement. And in our regions, everything is moving on and people are being enlightened. When the IEBC, for example, is not in place, I mean the commissioners, we have explained to people the process, how it is starting, how it will end, and so on and so forth. And we have started our voter and civic education so that people understand what their civic duty is. And this we do on a daily basis.
You know, whatever the church is doing now, whatever the religious leaders are doing now must be lauded.
Yeah.
There was a time the church went to sleep. I say they're asleep because this is one of the beautiful things about being alive for a long time. Because I remember a time, when the first president of this country was president, we had the people who would stand up and speak boldly were not just politicians. They were religious leaders, boldly. During the term of the second president of the country, again, boldly, people stood up and spoke. Then somehow it's like the church went quiet. It looks like when things seem to be okay economically in the country, the voice of the church seems to go quiet. It isn't as loud as it should be, because the problems we are now facing did not begin with this government.
Right.
No. It didn't. It began earlier. What you're seeing is a culmination of many things that have been wrong for a while. But the position that has now been taken is a good one. Many a time when the church or religious leaders speak out, they are considered to be adversarial. And yet, when they explain, they say they are being corrective, and that is their role. How do you get the political class who are members of these religious organizations and churches to understand that when someone disagrees with you, they are not seeking to be your enemy? They are simply explaining to you something that you've done wrong.
Yeah, that's true. The church, as you say, has been in the picture. And when things go wrong, we talk about them. Before they go wrong, we also have a pointer and say, look, if we go this direction, this is where we may end. I know you are referring to the likes of Njoya is still alive. the likes of Gitari, the likes of Okulu. These are bishops, and the late Muga, who and among others, the Ndingi Mwana and Zekis. We are that group today. And talking, we will talk about these issues. Raising them, we will raise them. And we have always been raising them. And we are prepared to meet the other group that feels that we are overstepping. But we will always say, here we are. We represent the church. We represent Kenyans. And we are the voice that is needed.
Indeed.
So when we raise our voices, we are not adversarial. We are not enemies to anybody. Correct what we are saying. We will not have any issue to talk about. In fact, we will turn and say, look, we talked about this, and here it is.
What
and
would you say to government today?
We give credit to where we will say to the government that we give credit where it is supposed to be. If the government has done well, we will say you have performed. If the government has not performed, we will say you have not performed. If the government is not making things clear, we will say make things clear. Like, for example, the issue of SHA, the issue of affordable housing. It is a good idea. Very nice. To have that vision of every Kenya having, a shelter, like in other developed countries. It's a good idea. But communicate this to the people. And let the people know what it is. Let's not see the billboards. And that's why you hear one of us is saying it is like advertising. Show us what this work is
that you're doing,
and we will support.
We want to thank you very much, the Reverend Dr. Elias Otieno Agola, who is the chairman of the National Council of Churches of Kenya, has been our guest this hour. And even as you go, Reverend, want to thank you for being here. But CT has some yogurt for you from Delamere. And Delamere wants you to take a moment, as you have talked about this morning, take a moment and have a moment where you have real fruit in yogurt, even the many things that we have to think about. And as we continue to set the agenda, have a moment with Delamere, with real fruit and the strawberry that he has given you this morning, by the way.
Wow, I think Delamere is doing a good thing. Delamere knows, somebody should.
I've seen you. Delamere knows what they're doing.
Delamere should know that, some people have not taken breakfast.
And that's their plan exactly, your breakfast on the go. Thank you for being here this morning.
And thank you for our viewers. May God bless you.
Amen.
It was wonderful being with you.
Thank you so much.
The church is still there.
Good morning.
Let the church be the church.
Indeed. It's 8:01.
Yeah. Thank you.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga, and I'll start with some international news. Pope Francis's health has slightly improved, but he remains in a critical condition, the Vatican has said in a medical update. On Sunday, the Pope's condition was said to be critical with respiratory and kidney problems, but the Vatican has now said that a slight kidney problem was not a cause for concern more than a week after he was admitted to hospital. The pontiff resumed some work on Monday and called the priest of the parish of Gaza to express his fatherly closeness. The Pope is having oxygen therapy, but doctors are prudently not yet disclosing the prognosis. And the East African Community and the Southern African Development Community have appointed former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, and former Ethiopian Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn as joint facilitators of the now merged Nairobi and Luanda peace processes in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The decision was reached during the joint summit of heads of state and government, co-chaired by Zimbabwean President and SADC Chairperson Emerson Mnangagwa and Kenyan President and EAC Chairperson William Ruto. The summit held in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania earlier this month aimed to address the ongoing security crisis in Eastern DRC and reinforce peace peace efforts. And finally, NCCK National Chairman Elias Otieno says that they are not scared as the charge of speaking the truth to political leaders who go astray. Speaking on SpiceFM's Situation Room, Elias, who appeared to be hitting out at leaders who were using abusive words, said this vice won't be allowed to continue, especially in churches.
We would rather not have them in church if they are coming to abuse people in church. But we will always speak the truth to power. We'll speak the truth to our colleague leaders in whatever sector. And we will say that Kenya is not a place where you just come and even talk vulgar language and you are a leader. You know what just happened the other days in these rallies, where some people would call others stupid, foolish, and all that. It's not so good. What are we passing on to these generations that are below us?
Otieno said that just like Kenyans, the church faced attacks from the government for critiquing them, where they failed to fulfill the promises they made to Kenyans.
Every time that we see the issues that are derailing social justice, the issues of inclusion, talking to the marginalized, the poor, the women, the youth, we have to raise our voice to that. So where somebody sees you to be an enemy just because you have spoken your mind and you have raised your voice, then that should not be allowed to go without a say.
He further said that as the church, they were equally tired of too much talk and no results, adding that they'll continue speaking out against the government's failures.
We are tired of advertisement agencies from the government. You have promised so many things. Where is the result? And if you have a good plan, where is the communication on that plan? We are tired of talking. Let us see the work. And if it is SHA, how would people be dying and you say SHA is working? How would the university students miss exams and you say everything is working? How would education suffer and you say everything is working? We always say these things because it is something that our children need to get, something that our patients need to get, and something that we have to always talk about it. And we add our voice to what Archbishop Mwaura said, that we are tired of being shown rosy pictures of what is supposed to be done. We would want to see action.
That's the news wire. I'm Lea Obaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Are you a young person looking to unlock your potential? Are you ready to take the future in your hands? If so, then listen up. KCB to Jejiri is the plan. It's designed to empower young people like you, develop skills and knowledge you need to succeed in life. KCB to Jejiri combines vocational skills training, business development training, access to finance and business mentorship, preparing youth for jobs, entrepreneurship and wealth creation. Don't be left out. Visit kcbgroup.com/foundation to learn more.
Some days just have you feeling, you know the ones. Very few aha moments. Just moments. Maybe even a few Because how can a day this good feel so meh? But then, you realize your moment of escape is a cup of indulgence away. Delamere.
Get lost in rich, creamy, flavorful bliss with every spoonful of Delamere real fruit yogurt. Indulge in the moment.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 7 minutes after 8 o'clock into the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this morning, and looking at more conversations that move the nation, move the region, and in turn move the world. And so thank you for being here this morning. Our live streams continue on YouTube, on Facebook, and on X. And our audiences continue to join us on KTN. Thanks for being here this morning. And even as we continue, 1 million, that's the number I'll share with you. I'll share another number with you, 155,000. And another one, 267 million. What am I talking about? 1 million people make their way into the job market every year. Now, in the market, you'll find that some don't have the skills that they need to connect to the job or the skills that they need to connect with business. And this is an issue. Youth between the ages of 18 and 35 now have an opportunity to make that connect because the KCB Foundation under the 2GED program saw this problem and they said, let's do something about it. So what do? Offer you 6 months training in a particular field, and then you have the skills that you need to get into a job or the skills that you need to start a business. So after attending that 6-month course, you're then tooled and you're kitted and you're given some credit to start a business or connected with a job. So those are the numbers that I'm talking about. 155,000 young people across the country already skilled, and 267 million shillings worth of credit already given out to make sure that they can start a business. And you can do the same too today. You need to go to www.kcbgroup.com/foundation and find out how you can plug into the next cohort starting soon. And businesses have an opportunity to actually start seeing how they can get seamless transactions from place to place. It is making sure that cross-border payments are cross-border with ease. VetoFX has the answer for small, medium, and large businesses who need an opportunity to be able to, rather take advantage of the opportunity to be able to send payments from and across to 190 different countries around the world in 49 different currencies. You don't have to worry anymore about long waiting times for payments. You don't have to worry about hidden charges. You don't have to worry about affordability of sending money from one point to the next. And that's on the platform VetoFX. You find out more about it today, www.vetofx.com. All right, so we're getting into conversations for this hour. Money, sometimes, you have it, and then in the event of one loss or the other, it kind of disappears. Assets just kind of, find their way. There's an authority in this country that keeps those assets until they are claimed. And that's the conversation that we will be having this hour. And our guest for the hour is already seated. The Caroline Cheer is the acting CEO and managing trustee of the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, and she's in the hot seat this morning. Caroline, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Okay, so you're in the hot seat of the Situation Room, and we are told that there's money in the billions just sitting somewhere waiting for somebody to pick it up. So you're going to tell us about this pot of gold and how we can get it at the end of the rainbow, depending on who you are, isn't it? But to welcome you in true Situation Room style, this young gentleman, CT Muga, goes around the continent every week. He collects proverbs from different countries, and then he comes back with them. And then he gives us work to do. So when you come into the room every day, you tell us what you think about the proverb that he's going to share today and how you would interpret that. Is that okay? As though you don't have enough work to do, we're giving you some more. Okay.
It's actually very interesting that we're talking about unclaimed assets. The book of Ecclesiastes speaks about the same subject and talks about how you work hard, you accumulate. When somebody you don't even know, somebody who didn't even work for it, comes and takes it.
And takes it away.
Yes. It was the context in which the writer was building up to saying, all these things are vanity.
Vanity. Yes. Everything is vanity.
Yes. So, since the proverb that I'm about to read also talks about God, it, understand how it fits in.
It fits.
God gives nothing to those who keep their arms crossed.
God gives nothing
to those who keeps their arms crossed.
That's a good proverb, and it is in the Bible.
No.
It's from Mali.
It's from Mali.
Yeah. No, I thank you very much for making that correction.
Yes.
It just occurred to me because I was reading the book of Ecclesiastes and that came to me. But the Malians, who are predominantly Muslim, yes, have this particular saying. Yes. Yes. Mali is predominantly, and the Malians predominantly practice the Islamic faith. Yes.
So the meaning of that proverb.
Yes, please.
That God gives
nothing to those who keep their
arms crossed.
Yes, yes, yes.
I think the meaning of it is that if you do not work,
yes,
you will not get anything, and you won't earn, and therefore you will not get nothing for free.
Right.
Yes.
You actually can't work with your arms crossed. Can
yes.
You? No, you
can't. If you cross your hands, then nothing will happen.
Yeah.
You have to work for it.
You have interpreted it very well.
Thank you.
Yes.
There we go. So, we're talking about the Unclaimed Assets, Financial Assets Authority. Yes. Can we just start from the very beginning, what this authority is and what exactly it does? Because here we are thinking, okay, this is nifty. There's billions of shillings sitting somewhere, and the authority is basically begging people to come and get it. But maybe you can give us some clarity as to what the authority is and what it does.
Thank you for this opportunity that I've been able to come to this studio this time. The Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority was established by an Act of Parliament, Unclaimed Financial Assets Act of 2011, number 40 of 2011. The Unclaimed Financial Assets, what it does is that it receives and safeguards and reunify the assets that have been received. And these are financial in nature, which are held by various holders. So the mandate of the institution purely is now to receive those assets, financial assets, and safeguard, and finally look for the rightful owners. And in 2016, the regulations were gazetted so that it helps to operationalize the act that formed the authority. Yes.
Okay. So where does all this money come from?
The monies come from various holders. When we talk about the holders, I'll give examples like the banking industry. We have the insurance companies. We have the SACCOs. So all this over time, probably some people may have left the SACCO, for instance, and forgot that they had their money there, or for some reason did not go back for it. Or even the banks may have a fixed, someone may have opened a fixed account and over time probably forgot to go back or left an account to be inactive for some time. So the Act prescribes how an asset qualifies to be unclaimed. And therefore all these holders, by virtue of compliance with the Act, are supposed to remit to the authority at the opportune time so that we are able to look for those owners. So these assets are from various holders in the various sectors of in the market.
Okay, so I mean, walk us through this so we can understand. So person X, let's call her Grace, okay?
Yes.
Has money in a SACCO, has money in a bank, right? For whatever amount. And unfortunately, Grace passes away. And this money remains in the SACCO. For how, or in the bank, for how long would it remain there before the authority is made aware that it's there and that something needs, or is notified of these monies there?
According to how the Act is prescribed, within 2 years, if some account is inactive, and also the SACCO, if they're not able to trace the owners or the share, the owner of those assets, let's say their savings in an account for 2 years, then it qualifies to become unclaimed. And therefore, they are expected as the holders to comply with the Act and now remit those funds. So 2 years for those who have those accounts in the banks which are inactive. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Who is responsible Okay, so usually family is going to try, if they are aware that there are assets there.
Yes.
Does the authority then try to get in touch with family members to make sure that maybe they're either not in a process of trying to get these funds out, or have tried and have failed for whatever reason, or does that then move until family comes later? How does that process work?
Well, what happens is the holders are also expected to look out for the owners, because they are the primary custodians of the records and the contacts of these people, be their customers, for instance. So they are supposed to inform them that we haven't gotten reached you, we have not seen any movement on your account for some time, and therefore within this period of time it shall be remitted to Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. So they are supposed to demonstrate as the holders that they have reached out to would-be members or other customers, let's put it like so. Once they are not able to get the owners activate or come back to get their funds, then they remit to us. So what we do, one of the activities that we also do is we look for them, we find a way of tracing them, of locating them, and so that we notify them to know that their funds have now been remitted by various holders to check with us. So in a situation, I think you mentioned, if somebody like the Grace you mentioned in court that passed on, we expect now their beneficiaries, who are their family members, to also check with us, that they will be guided accordingly on how to start the claim. Yes.
Now, talking about finding and claiming, I'm curious on how you do it, because you've said you will find them. I mean, there are avenues. I believe there is an aspect of the e-citizen. I do not know. Just walk us through that. How do you I know, finding and claiming. For me, I'm really curious on that. And also just shedding light on these other platforms. I believe there's a number that is dialed. Is it by you? Is it by me? And how does the public then come in?
Thank you. What we do, tracing, of course, people may not be very easy. That's a fact. Yes. That's something that even we are finding as a challenge too as an institution. But being our mandate, we are out to look for all options and explore most of the options of how we can do that. So quickly what we do, we have USSD number that we encourage the members of the public to check on *361 hash, so that they will be guided on how to search their assets. Also from our website, www.ufaa.go.ke, one can also search through that. We have call centers. We have one in the head office, which is, we're only in Westlands in Nairobi. And also we have partnered with Huduma centers. So far we have 5 centers in Nairobi. We are piloting, but in the near future, we are going to expand to various Huduma centers in the country. So this is part of the places that we encourage the members of the public to check. Yes.
Why don't people come and collect? The money that we're looking at is 80 billion shillings. Yes. Or am I wrong?
You're not wrong.
80 billion shillings. Yeah. How long has this 80 billion shillings been there? I mean, I would imagine that as you go along, more and more is added into the pot.
Yes.
But how long have we been talking? Because the call has been there for a while. Kenyans, come, collect your money. Why wouldn't people come and pick this up?
Thank you. What happens is the institution, or rather the authority, is now about 10 years, but the operations began in 2014. So by the time we got the regulations gazetted in 2016, that's when the process of now calling and asking the members of the public to come and claim. So what we have done is that we try as much also to organize functions like or occasions or forums like what we call clinics in various parts of the country, so that they come and check with us. For the monies that we have, it's safeguarded in an account in Central Bank, and that's how holders also are advised to remit this money. So it doesn't come directly to an account which the authority has, maybe in a commercial bank, for instance. Being a government institution, the funds are remitted in a central bank account. So all these funds, yes, it's about over 80 billion for sure in terms of cash. and shares are at a tune of about 1.9 billion units. Of course, the fluctuation in the market in terms of the market price for the shares keep changing. That's why the portfolio generally, let's say, is over 80 billion. So all this, as we look around for the owners to come, we have so far been able to reunify our worth amount of 2.4 billion with 34,900 members of the public, and also 55 million shares have been reunified. So I think the question is why that people are not coming. Of course, every year as more funds are coming which qualify, the portfolio keep growing. And one of the things which have been a challenge is there's low awareness. Many people didn't know about the authority. For the last years that have been on, the authority has been in existence, and that's why we've gone out of our way to really try and hype up for the members of the public to know that there is an authority called Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, which are holding some funds that one is encouraged to come and check. Another thing is because of there is the regulations give some prescriptive nature of how to claim. So it explains the process in which, or the documents that are required for one to have, and it applies across regardless of the amounts, be it a low value, as we may call it, and high value. So some of it could also discourage the members of the public. However, we are in the process of finding ways so that we diversify in terms of category and the values of the assets that we have, if it can encourage more people to claim. Another matter is because we get what we call unstructured reports from the holders. Some of it are incomplete. You may get just because an institution is rushing to comply, to make sure it's normally by 1st November of every year. So in such situations, they might just remit money. It doesn't have the details in terms of the contacts of the owners. So yes, the funds come, may have just one name or the name of the person, but no contacts. So some of the challenges that we are experiencing now as an authority is how do we then trace these people? So we have, and again, another area which has caused also a delay of sorts or slow awareness or rather uptake is because the succession after one passes on. So the succession process takes so long. So you may find indeed somebody has checked, the beneficiaries have checked, but the succession process has taken so long. So such that now the fund still remains with us until they complete. So those are some of the challenges that I experienced that are causing that low uptake.
What happens to these funds? You said they sit somewhere in the central bank.
Yes.
Okay, so they're sitting. And then what then do they do in that sitting position?
Allow me just to take water.
No, take two sips.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Indeed, the monies or the funds are in central bank, and it's the safest way because so there is segregation. Like even the authority, we would not just access that money unless when we now have we have a budget like everybody else. We estimate that this year we are going to reunify such X amount of claims. So we are allowed now transfer that money to a commercial bank for ease of now payment. So what we do, the funds while in central bank is invested in treasury bonds and treasury bills, so that it helps also partly in the operations of the institution.
Yes.
But let me say that it's not that all the investment income received is fully utilized in operations. We do a budget like any other institution and just utilize what has been approved for each year. So the funds are in central bank as it is,
and
just for safeguarding.
Okay, interest, good thing. Bonds, wonderful thing. Now, you utilize some of it for operations, makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And the other bit that isn't utilized?
As it is now, it's still we're in conversation so that we are able to be guided by the stakeholders in government on what happens with the extras that are not fully utilized.
What I'm actually asking is,
yes,
if there's interest on these things that is earned, the people whose money it is that has earned this, can some of that money go in their directions? That when you claim, let's say, what the money that was unclaimed that I know of was 1 shilling. Can it be 1 shilling .002 at the time I'm getting it? Because this 1 shilling was invested and I've then gotten, we got 0.04, but you used 2, so there's the other 2 remaining.
Okay,
Yes.
I get you.
Yes.
We had, that has been a very common question for sure and a concern. The challenge is that if we get into that scenario whereby we give the owners, including the interest, chances are some people may actually check and just hold, not to claim, and then we end up being another investment. Yeah, for sure. Because if I am able to see my 100,000 there, and I know, let me hang on another year, another 2 years, I'll get in with an income and an interest. So we end up now completely getting to, that's not our mandate per se.
Yes.
So we hope to look forward to a time when these funds, of course, with a lot of stakeholder engagement and also with the government institutions concerned, that can be plowed back to support in social good for the public.
Okay,
but of course, there will be guidance on that and a clear legal framework to
makes
guide
perfect
that.
sense.
Yes.
Something else which concerns me, by the time you have 80 billion in unclaimed financial assets, 1.8 billion, you're talking about a value of shares. It tells us something about the way we understand the need to pass on whatever wealth we have or to structure it so that those who we consider our family can have access to it when we are not there. Okay, that's my guess. Your institution probably has done a deep dive in this. What does this tell us about Kenyans and the way it is? We think of succession, we think of writing wills, because if there's a will, I don't think there'd be much of a problem.
There wouldn't.
Yes, but this speaks to the fact that there is, or there are no wills, and there is nothing clear. So that's why the money sits there. Yes.
As you rightly put it, with time we have realized that I don't know whether it is not only Kenyan culture or African culture per se that people don't write wills. There's always that fear of, I don't know, maybe if you write.
Your death.
Yes, exactly, like you're predicting your death and all. And we found over time that these are some of the challenges that we experience, that people or do not even tell their families what assets or what investments they have. You may have someone having an account in a certain bank. They have bought shares in some certain, maybe listed companies, and the like. And as such, they just keep quiet. So it's only at the point when one has passed on that this comes up. So it's true. It's a call for all of us. As Kenyans, members of the public, that's important to engage our family members, let them know the various investments that we have, and it just helps so that for some reason. And some of the things that have also caused that even this becomes unclaimed is that people may just get sick and lose their memory and may not remember. So in the process, even if over time, it completely gets forgotten because he or she may not remember. We have also gotten a situation whereby over time again, the post office, which people mainly used to use the post office boxes, was kind of communal. Maybe you use a box number for the school those days or for a church, and that would almost serve the whole community. And then over time again, it has changed. We are now having the postal code. Those days it wasn't there. So it's if a check is sent, for instance, and then it just gets lost in the process. So that's getting also to update your records and moving with the times is also one of the things that is very critical that as members of the public we need to learn.
Indeed.
Yeah.
We're having a conversation this morning with the acting CEO and managing trustee of the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, Caroline Chirchir, and we're going to come back after this and continue with that conversation.
Right.
Some very important stuff now, because there are folks who are chasing, and some folks have woken up this morning to this conversation and realized, hang on a minute, I have somebody who's passed on years ago, and I know for a fact that they had money sitting somewhere. How then do I now start that process? Before we do that, CT has been waving around a magic diamond wand for the last couple of days. CT, what's that about?
Well, it's about houses, and it's about how somebody can go about buying one. Well, financial institutions offer something called a mortgage that's supposed to enable you to buy a house. And Diamond Trust is saying, look, we'll do you one better. We'll actually give you information, and with that information, we then invite you to come and talk to us and decide what it is you want to do. Now, this is the information. Diamond Trust offers mortgages at single-digit interest, 9% for 10 years, 9.75 for 25 years. Diamond Trust offers mortgages for people who are in the diaspora, people who are employed, people who are self-employed. Diamond Trust tells you that the interest rate that they are offering with the mortgage is constant, steady as a rock. It's not a yo-yo, it's not a wind vane. It doesn't move around. It won't change. It will stay exactly where it is. Diamond Trust is also saying that if you want to understand this thing in great details and you think CT is not telling you the whole story, you can actually write to them, send an email, mortgages@dtbafrica.com, or just visit physically any Diamond Trust branch in the country. Just visit.
Just visit.
That is what they're saying. And they're saying, look, we will offer you up to 105% if you're in paid employment. That is 100% loan. Okay? 100 for the building, 5 for little details of charge this here, this, yes, all these things. If you're in the diaspora, it is 80%.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Good stuff. We'll be back right after this. It's 25 to 9.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
It's 18 and sunny in Nairobi, and 18 and sunny as well looking into Nakuru. 16 and sunny conditions into Nyeri, while Eldoret is sunny at 17. It's 28 and sunny in Mombasa, while Malindi is sunny at 28. Kisumu at 24 is sunny, and we'll see sunny conditions through Kakamega at 23. Currently sunny at 22 into Kampala, and at 28 Dar es Salaam will be sunny through Tuesday. Mostly cloudy at 17 in Johannesburg, and at 28 Mogadishu is sunny with 16 and sunny in Addis Ababa. Lagos at 27 is sunny with sunny conditions and partly cloudy conditions at the same time in Kinshasa, currently at 25.
Spice FM. Spice up your life.
It continues to be a busy Tuesday morning in the city, and there is still traffic coming off of the Thika Superhighway, and that's really heavy. Can you get redder than red? Because that's what it looks like where we are right now. And there's heavy traffic coming off the Thika Superhighway just past Garden City and then through towards Survey. We're also looking at traffic that's heavy coming off of Manyanja Road. Some of that also coming off of Kangunda Road. Everybody trying to get onto Outer Ring at some point today. It's busy then also joining onto Jogoo Road and out towards Landes. Uhuru Highway, as you coming off of the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, is busy. It's going to take you through to the city. Very slow as you then approach University Way and then out towards Chiromo and then Westlands. So that's doing the thing there. There's also some traffic coming off of Uhuru Gardens and then through towards the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. So there are our busyness points this morning. Keeping an eye on all of this since we are still in traffic hour. Let's talk Spice FM. KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Caroline Cheer is the acting CEO and managing trustee at the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. And just looking into, some folks this morning are already saying, hang on a minute, this authority exists, number one, so we're going to get past that surprise. And then saying that they know for a fact, one saying that, their father definitely had shares in an organization. Number two, SACCO issues. They had no idea that this authority exists in the first place. And obviously, in today's economy, some of that money can actually be very helpful to the family at this point because, father's not there. They're not going to use it. So how do they even begin? Where do they start from?
Okay. Thank you. It just, as mentioned, many people didn't know about the authority, and some of them, I'm glad that they're beginning to learn or know about it. So the best thing is to check on our website, which is www.ufaa.go.ke. Again, the star 361 hash is also one of the platform that we can use. One can use rather to check. We're also launching and having a number on WhatsApp that I would want to give, which is 0706 866 984. That's also another platform that we're using that one can engage using that on WhatsApp so that it guides them on how to check their assets. We know that looking at the larger public, we are engaging also with, in partnership with what you call the GAO. GAO is the National Government Administration Offices. So it helps so that through that structure of government, where we have the DCC, the ACC, and then up to even the assistant, the chief and the assistant chiefs, we are in partnership with the Ministry of Interior so that we're able to reach out to the wider members of the public through that, so that they at least they're able to be informed that there's an authority that has deals with unclaimed assets. Therefore, they will be able to check. So that is the team that we're working with. And as I mentioned earlier, also with the Huduma Kenya, though we are only in 5 centers which have already piloted in Nairobi, the GPO, we have City Square, we have Isili, and Makadara, and Kibra, and we are in the process of now expanding in the different parts of the country so that we get these services closer to the members of the public. So for the caller and or person who was already saying that indeed they know that the dad had some assets, then they can reach us through that. Yes.
Okay. I'm looking at the strategic plan 2023 to 2028 focus areas for the authority. And I want to bring in a different aspect here because I'm looking at your objectives vis-a-vis the mentality of Kenyans. If you look at some of the comments here saying, well, the certain bad manners that the government has in as far as institutions are concerned and how they should be working, let alone concerns that arise from NHIF. Now we're in SHA. Something is always almost not working at some point, a bit of excuses here and there, NSSF, etc. We have the seniors lining up and they don't have enough money, etc. or something, just a certain delay. And I just want to refer to your strategic plan. And you are, according to the authority now, delivering in accordance with the Constitution, Unclaimed Financial Assets Act, and other relevant laws in realizing increased reunification to the rightful owners. And number 2, the authority will be effective, efficient in service delivery by automation, digitization, and services onboarding on eCitizen, maximizing partnerships and driving safeguarding mandate, etc. Which means you're aligning yourself with the Constitution. I just want your reassurance to the Kenyans that your authority is, I wouldn't say immune, all right, but safe from, all this corruption that has been going on. Kenyans have a trust deficit for, government aligned authorities. Now, I'm speaking on behalf of the common Mwananchi who has their head this way, if they can see me, as far as what you're saying today. What's your reassurance of your accountability and transparency as an authority?
Okay. Thank you for that. I know for sure, as Kenyans, we are in this environment that what you've just read and said could be raising a concern. And of course, as a government institution, there is the fear that probably one could be, or we may be directed otherwise. But let me give the assurance to say that we know that these funds, and it is well clear that the funds that the authority is holding is actually for individuals. It's not monies from the exchequer or any from any other source of government. So, however, the government put this institution to safeguard for purpose of just looking for the owners at one pool. So I want to give that assurance that indeed the funds will be well secured, as I mentioned again, until when the owners come. For your information, the Act provides for perpetuity in terms of these funds. I think that is the beauty about it.
Okay.
So regardless of how many years it will take, some beneficiaries at some point will be able to come and find these funds. And in terms of what we do, as I mentioned again, to safeguard, we engage widely. We have forums also with the various stakeholders who include the holders themselves. And even when we meet with the GAUs, as I mentioned, we also listen to what are some of the challenges and how we can get better in service delivery. So we have forums in which we engage the various sectors, those who are in the circle industry, those who are in the banking industry, in the insurance industries, so that we listen to the ground as well. That will help us even to change, or rather to improve in our processes, so that we are able to get these funds back to the owners and back to the economy. I
want to hold on to your point about funds being held in perpetuity, and that might be an issue that folks will have, that, will that money, so long as there is a proof line that money has actually come to the authority, or those assets essentially have been released to the authority, will they be there until the time where this individual or this family member comes to pick them up?
Yes, let me say yes, because as I mentioned, the Act is very clear, and we are bound to be able to comply by that as well. And therefore, we do encourage. That's why sometimes people ask, like, I am not sure that I'll get this money even in 10 years. Remember, I mentioned the lengthy succession process that happens, that takes place, such that those who have passed on, the beneficiaries may take almost 10 years, to some even 20 years. We've had different forums in different places, what we call reunification clinic. And you'd find most of the people who come to queue to check are talking of, my pension hasn't, or my husband or my wife had a certain account someplace, and then when we check, they don't have any papers. They have not been given grants to be the people who are managing that estate. So some of that which has come clear is that we need a lot of awareness also for people to know that they need to start that process of succession, and also those who handle this should be able to process them quickly and efficiently, so that these people are able to benefit. So with that, with that in mind, that there's all this lengthy succession process, then these funds are meant to be safe until when the beneficiaries, the rightful beneficiaries, come on, or to come and claim them.
You mentioned some amounts that people have actually received over a period of time.
Yes.
Walk us through this, please. What is it that they did to, first of all, get to the point where they're coming to claim the funds? And what else did they do so that they were now able to receive the funds?
Okay. Once an individual or someone has seen that the assets are with us, let me also put it like part of the way that we...
Just pause.
Yes.
When you say assets are with you, in the website that you have, what do you publish? So that when someone visits, they can know, perhaps this is the asset that belongs to my late father, mother, uncle.
Are there numericals?
We do. What we publish, they are names of individuals, of course, maybe companies and all, and then also the funds which are associated, or rather which are for that person, depending on what we've received from the holders. Then once they're able to check and find the name, and they now reach out to us and we guide them. They are able to be guided on how to claim those funds. For those who have been reunited, if it is an individual, for instance, they are supposed to have the identification, which of course is the ID or passport, and they're able to have what we call the holder's letter. The holder will be able to confirm. This is the one I was saying, that it's their responsibility to try and reach out to the owners by writing to them and writing finally when they remit that we have not reached you. They said the funds have been remitted to Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. You may now proceed to claim or rather check with them. So that is one of the documents that we must have. And the holder's letter to ascertain that this is actually the person, and we confirm that is the same name that is in our records. And then there are also other forms that operationally needs to be filled, called indemnity forms, which we will be able to give just to indemnify the authority as well. And also what we do even in verifying the national ID or passport, we also check with the registration of the IPRS. We have a link that we're able to ascertain that this is the correct individual. So when all those, when one has satisfied now the requirements in terms of documentation and the bank account where those funds will be paid, or in some situations, the M-Pesa, the holder, or rather the claimant will clarify what form of payment, or rather how they need to be paid. But most of the people are paid by bank. So we have all those documentations, and it goes through an internal process of verification. Let me say, for those who are beneficiaries, especially for death claim, for those who are for deceased cases, it takes a longer process because we must ascertain the grants that have been granted for them to be the estate administrators for whoever has passed on. So what we do verify with the various courts who issued the grants. And of course, the identification of those who are claiming the same way must provide with us their IDs, which we go the same process of also verifying. And over and above, a death certificate also, and so all those are put together, and again where those funds are going to be paid. So one of the important things which I want to mention, for any beneficiary claims, we actually publish for 30 days. We have to publish it in the Gazette. So for any no objection, for anyone who may raise any objection or raise any issue, the 30 days has to be.
So digitization is a big deal in terms of, the whole process of making it easier for folks around the country, and even folks who may be outside the country to get, because you can imagine the things that you're talking about. Fill this form, indemnity, go back and forth. Somebody's living in Munich, or somebody's living in Doha and wants to be able to do this for their family members. So digitization, I believe the CS last year actually said, you know what? This is something that you have to embark on in order to make this process seamless. We've seen members of parliament calling on the authority to do the same thing in terms of digitization of this process of the authority itself and the processes for claiming assets. How far are you along with this?
Thank you. We actually, the process, we already have some, the forms in the e-citizen, so that anyone could claim from wherever they are, they're able to access. So those claim forms and all that we require for members of the public, those who are around or even far. We have had even people from away from diaspora who actually been able to claim and reunified with their assets. We've also encouraged we used to do a lot of manual documentation. People bring their hard copies, but we have since been able to encourage people to just scan and send them to us. So we are on e-citizen, especially with the forms that we require for the claim forms and all that I mentioned just now. So we encourage the members of the public as well to be able to get that, to reach us and start that process. I agree, you can be verified, you can come to Nairobi or go to your maybe the nearest chief's place and the like. So we encourage people to be able to check on the citizen to get our forms and start the process and submit the forms.
But in fact, even if you simply Google, there's a lot of information.
I was actually going to say that.
Yeah,
I did the same thing on my phone now.
There is for sure.
You know, and I was going to come to that. You know, you said that there is a challenge of awareness, and what you're doing today is part of it, creating more of that awareness and sensitization.
Yes.
And for those who are listening today, perhaps just so the public would understand the importance of making sure that this word is out to your family members, to your next of kin. And we cannot emphasize that enough. Because now, this is where I'm coming in. There is us here in studio. There's those in the urban center. There are those who have exposure to the digitization that we're talking about. But then there is that person who is probably headed to the garden or the farm this morning who speaks vernacular. And we're glad and privileged to have you here as the CEO today. But what else are you doing extra to reach further those in the remote areas? And as far as this awareness is concerned, and I'm just really curious on that particular stretch to ensure that nobody's asset is lost or unclaimed.
Okay, thank you. We, as an institution, we are considering various forums or platforms that we can use to reach the public, and one also is even going to speak in vernacular stations, because we realized, as you mentioned, over time, of course, we review our processes, and we have noted that indeed we need to reach to the wider Kenyans who may not be able to listen to maybe Spice, for instance, at this time, or even not able to watch the TV and all. So one of the considerations, we have started getting to speak on different vernacular stations so that we're able to mobilize and reach out as much as possible as part of the sensitization and creating that awareness to the members of the public. So that process is actually starting. We had started before, but now we have realized we need to go wider and go into many various vernacular stations. Yes.
According to so all of this and the operations are guided by the Act, obviously, like you said. So you're not going to be able to wake up one morning and decide, well, okay, 80 billion shillings looks like something fun that we can use to invest, and get a little bit of profit and then put the money back, kind of thing. So the Act essentially is a safeguard, and so is that not something that folks can then be able to look at and say, well, because of that, our money is essentially safe or not?
True, the Act is a safeguard. And even as an institution, we're alive to it that we must comply and be aligned to that. Two, we encourage, of course, you can get even the Act as well, even on the when you Google in the website, it is there, so one can read and understand. So we'd like to give that assurance that indeed the funds are safe. Again, we are under Treasury as an institution, so we also get proper approvals and guidance. It's not that we just operate independently and utilize the funds and do our own things, but we are also guided accordingly within the regulations of government as well.
Oh, by the way, a question. Are you aware of the names of the individuals who have not claimed? Do you have a list of who they are?
Yes, we do have. We do have.
So you can actually do a campaign where you're getting in touch with them one-to-one, as opposed to a blanket placard of Kenyans, come and get your money. You can actually call them, CT, you've got 1 billion shillings, please come and get it. And then you can actually do a direct call or direct communication. I mean, you're excited. You're excited about the 1 billion shillings, aren't you?
No, I'm really excited.
But you're smiling.
Is that something that you would be able to go into?
Yes, we can. We have considered that, and that's why at some point where even we partnered with the girls was when we realized we went to their database and we were able to map out using the IDs, because we're exploring all possible means that we can reach, and of course that is one aspect. Two, we have also published at some point names in the newspapers to ask people to come to us. Of course, you don't put the amount, but we'd ask them, reach out to us. We have your name in the database, and we have funds for you. So we are considering even doing that more often. And now, and especially as I mentioned, all possible forums that we can use the vernacular stations, again, republishing even the names, because every year, of course, we get new additional names. We publish that. And where we are able to get the contacts, as I mentioned, one of the challenges, you may get unstructured reports. It just comes with a name, and sometimes without the contacts. So we now have to struggle. We probably now have to see, can we use the IP arrest through the ID, get the details of that person, then somehow we get the contacts. So those are some of the challenges what we're having. But I believe as we go along using different forums that we have put in place, we'll be able to reach the Kenyans.
So, I mean... It's true, this question that I'm hearing it in my ear. It's actually funny, but it's true. So what if after some time, because we've seen that there've been review of acts from Parliament, there've been review of acts and certain things. It's 80 billion shillings. I'm telling you, 80 billion shillings, you put it, for example, today into education and you do wonders. Put 80 billion shillings into this SHA that people are complaining about, you do wonders. So do you think there would be a time where, okay, if there's a lot of money that has not been unclaimed, is it not possible that these could actually be transferred to somewhere else that will actually benefit government programs, things like that? Does that ever come into the conversation?
It's true that that conversation has been proposed sometimes, but what I said is that there would be a legal framework to guide that. Okay. There's no way that anybody would want to do anything that would be contrary to what is in the Act. So that conversation and engagement and consultation with the different stakeholders in this case would have to take place, and before any step or any decision is made to do otherwise with these funds.
So what's your call to action today for Kenyans?
I would want to ask all the Kenyans who are listening this morning, please check on our website. Please reach out to the chief for those who are not able to get to any other new forum or other platforms to check with us, and also check with the Duma centers so that they're able to claim their assets. And for sure, there are people who have checked and they are surprised to actually find that their names and the monies are there. One other call I want to make is there is a perception that these funds are people who are deceased. It's not. It's for everyone. Yes. So both alive and those who unfortunately have passed on, their beneficiaries can look for these funds.
There you go.
Yeah.
Caroline Cheer has been our guest this hour. She is the acting CEO and managing trustee of the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. It's been a busy morning. I don't know if you had breakfast, but we can give you breakfast on the go. Okay. Because Delamere says that's one of the things that you can do with these fantastic range of yogurts. Yes. And you can actually carry your breakfast with you. The great thing about this one that CT is giving you, such a gentleman, look at it.
Thank you very much.
Is that it's got real fruit in it, in this strawberry. So please do enjoy that and have a moment with Delamere on us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate for the moment, and I appreciate the breakfast that I've got. Thank you. Have a good day. Yeah,
good morning.
Thank you.
It's 9 o'clock.
Thank you.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm La Obaga. 4 people have died on the spot and 56 others have been seriously injured after a road accident happened along the Londiani-Muhoroni Road. The accident that occurred on Monday at 9:30 p.m. involved a passenger bus headed to Nairobi and a truck headed towards Muhoroni. Police said the injured were rushed to St. Vincent Mission Hospital and Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital, Kisumu. Patients seeking healthcare services under SHA are set to continue suffering for a second day today after RUFA suspended services. RUFA has reiterated that the hospitals will continue to suspend services for SHA patients until the government pays the approximately 30 billion shillings owed under the previous NHIF insurance.
The issue here is that when we are saying SHA is working, we are actually saying hospitals, they are doing what they are supposed to do regardless of the financial situation they are going in. But I also want us to understand that even if you have a credit facility somewhere, it is not limitless. At some point, that shop gets to a point where your record in that Excel book has become too big. They are going to tell you that unfortunately today we can't give you milk and bread because you see you have not been servicing your credit facility. But the day when the chickens come home to roost and you have to service your debt, if you don't service your debt, there are consequences.
SHA Chairman Muhammad Abdi said that the only outstanding payments are those related to the NHIF. He noted that SHA has already paid all claims totaling 17.5 billion shillings from October 2024 to January 2025.
Out of the remaining 30, we have settled almost 9 billion since around July to mid-October last year. So what we have was around 10 billion. But something usually happens when we have those things. Facilities are used to submitting claims. So what is happening currently is a process of reconciliation with the individual providers, because you don't want this general people saying, oh, there is this much. Rather than doing that, we have gone to each facility, and that process is 60% complete, to see what claims have been submitted, what has been paid under NHIF, or what has not been paid, what is disputed, and what is payable from this other end that says this is clean, there are no issues.
A KDF soldier has been killed and 10 other personnel sustained slight injuries after an explosion caused by an improvised explosive device in Elwak, Mandera County. 4 other soldiers were left with serious injuries following the attack near Lafi Junction. Officials said the attack was the second one in less than 24 hours following Sundays, where a 4-wheel drive car was badly damaged in the same area. Police said they're pursuing the gang behind the attack. And breast cancer cases are expected to increase by 38% globally by 2050, with annual deaths from the disease projected to rise by 68%, according to a new report from the International Agency for Research on Cancer, a specialized branch of the World Health Organization. The findings warn that if current trends continue, the world will see 3.2 million new breast cancer cases and 1.1 million related deaths each year by mid-century. The burden will be disproportionately felt in low and middle income countries where access to early detection, treatment and care remains limited. And finally, a post-mortem will be done on the body of British businessman Campbell Scott, which was found decomposing in a sack in Makongo Forest, Makueni. Makueni County Police Commander Alice Kimeli said the exercise will take place at the Makueni Referral Hospital. 2 people, a taxi driver and club attendant, have already been arrested on suspicion of kidnapping and murder. The body was discovered by herders grazing in Makongo Forest on Saturday, with initial investigations indicating that the late Campbell was strangled before being stuffed into a sack and dumped in the forest. That's the news wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Some days just have you feeling, you know the ones. Very few aha moments. Just moments. Maybe even a few Because how can a day this good feel so meh? But then, you realize your moment of escape is a cup of indulgence away. Delamere.
Get lost in rich, creamy, flavorful bliss with every spoonful of Delamere real fruit yogurt. Indulge in the moment.
Running a business in Kenya and struggling with slow, expensive cross-border payments? With Verto, you can send and receive money globally, faster, cheaper, and hassle-free. Pay suppliers, collect payments, and expand internationally with ease. 49 currencies, 190 plus countries. One powerful platform, better rates, faster settlements, secure transactions, global payments made easy. Sign up today at www.vertofx.com. Verto, your global business payments partner.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 90 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
7 minutes after 9 o'clock into the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this morning. And getting into it, remind you, yes, Veto is that platform where you don't have to worry as a business whether you're going to be able to make these cross-border payments, whether your cross-border business will be able to flow from one point to the other. And we're here to tell you that, yes, it actually will. On the Veto platform, this is where businesses, whether they're small, whether they're medium, whether they are large enterprises, don't have to worry about hidden charges, don't have to worry about exorbitant prices, don't have to worry about a long downtime for you to be able to make these payments from business to business, and can actually go the extra mile to help you out with your suppliers, help you out with liquidity and things like that. How do you know? Well, what you need to do is that you need to get onto the platform, www.vetofx.com, and find out how cross-border payments to 190 plus countries in 49 different currencies can be a thing of reality and not a thing of wishful thinking. www.vetofx.com. While you're at it, let me give you some more numbers. 1 million is the number of people that enter into the job market every year. 155,000 is the number of people that the KCB Foundation to Judicial program has helped to date. 267 million shillings is the amount of loans and credit that young people have accessed to start their business after they do the 6-month skill training. It's helping youth between the ages of 18 and 35 connect with the opportunity to get skills that will give them a chance at a job or starting a business. It's the KCB Foundation to Judicial program. Learn about how you can get into the next cohort when you get onto the website of www.kcbgroup.com/foundation. Now, when we're doing that, CT, you've been telling us some good stuff, and we're very happy with these things that you've told us recently. So how about you share with us and tell us what it is that we can do when we want to get a mortgage?
The very idea of buying a house for most people is a pipe dream. It's something you think is in the distant future, and you wish and wish and wish. Diamond Trust Bank is saying, look, it's not a question of wishes coming true, but pause and listen to the proposition that we have. We offer mortgages. We offer mortgages that suit your purposes as well as the size of your pocket. And the details are as follows. 1, DTB offers a mortgage for 10 years. The interest rate charge is 9%.
Yes.
It offers a mortgage for 25 years. Interest charge is 9.75%. DTB offers mortgages of up to 105%. 100%, and then 5 on top, 5 for the expenses of getting the loan. DTB also offers loans up to 80%. Now, what's the difference? If you're in the diaspora, you can get up to 80%. If you are in paid employment, you can get to up to 105%. And DTB Bank is saying, look, financial institutions are often accused of, among other things, hidden charges. They're telling we have none. There are no hidden charges. Financial institutions are often accused of penalties when people pay ahead of the schedule. They're saying we will not penalize you. And the interest rate that we've mentioned is a constant. It will not change. Now, if you want to verify this information, do the following. 1, walk, as in get up, move, walk, go to a Diamond Trust branch, or let your fingers do the walking. Email them at mortgages@dtbafrica.com.
Fantastic. That's the way to go and get things done this morning. And we continue with our conversations this morning, and we are going to be having one around disability inclusion. Both of our guests are in the studio this hour, and we want to welcome Tina Mungatana, who is the Principal Social Development Officer, and Samuel Kabue is expert with PWD's rights. That's people with disabilities. We want to say welcome to both of you this morning.
Thank you.
Karibu, and welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room, where we look at some of these issues, and it's important to keep talking about them today. So we're going to welcome you to the Situation Room with today's proverb. CT is going to tell you what that proverb is and where it's from, and then you can tell us what that proverb means to you and how you would interpret that. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our proverbs for the whole of this week, which will end on Friday, come from the Republic of Mali. Mali is an important country on this continent. And the reason is because it has an extremely rich history. A history that, among other things, tells you that this continent was always at the forefront of the acquisition of knowledge, the acquisition of culture, the propagation of the same. For the longest time, this continent had kingdoms, wealthy kingdoms that played an important part in the development of what we now refer to as Europe. But that's a story for another day. The proverb: God gives nothing to those who keep their arms crossed. Let me repeat. It's not God gives a little bit. No. God gives nothing to those who keep their arms crossed. Yes.
Let's start with you, Samuel.
I think this is an encouragement of generosity and not holding from especially those who are in need. I think that's what it means.
You have put it well. Thank you. Simple and to the point. Yes.
What about you, Tina?
I think it is a call to go out there and do something. Don't just sit and wait for something to fall on your lap.
Right.
Just go out there and do something, and God will bless you.
Indeed.
Yes.
You got to make a move, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to put one foot out, and you have to do something. You can't sit and wait for it to fall into your lap. That's great, and I think that's a great launch. I keep saying that this is a great launch pad for us to get into the conversation for this morning. And we're looking at what it's going to take to achieve disability inclusion across various sectors. Now, if we look at the disability conversation and people with disabilities in Kenya and what has been done for them, a lot of it has come from the fact that there has been little to none in terms of inclusion, but there have also been some good strides that have been made more recently. We've seen a lot of agitation, we've seen a lot of compliance in some areas. Many would say more on the private side than the public side in terms of compliance, but we want to take an overview of where we are today and then talk about what is necessary, because we know that it is possible, but we need to talk about what is necessary for us to do as an all-inclusive society. So let's start off with you, Samuel, and let's paint a picture of where it has been over the last, give or take 10 years, and what we have achieved so far towards inclusion.
I would want to, first of all, go a little beyond the 10 years and say, in this country, work on persons with disabilities started from the point of charity and giving those who cannot give, providing for people who are unable to provide for themselves. And that's how even the education that we received from the missionaries told us, a professional kind of care. But in the last few years, especially, I would say almost 20 years of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, there has been a real reawakening of transformation from charity to rights. And this has permeated not only at international level, but also at national level. And that's where we talk, for instance, in Kenya, of the 2003 Persons with Disabilities Act that provides for specific rights to persons with disabilities. In the last few years, 10 years, you've said in Kenya, we have struggled as a country to move towards the achievement of the provisions of the rights of persons with disability as embedded in the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And cardinal point in this is participation and inclusion, full involvement of persons with disabilities, and what we now call meaningful participation, not just being there, but being there in the principle of give and take. like everybody else. The convention, our constitution, 2010 constitution provides for progressive realizations of 5% representation of persons with disabilities in all appointive and elective positions. And that is a progressive point of view that has taken place within the last few years that we need now to follow up. We also have been working very closely with the government, the disability stakeholders, to review our 2003 Act so that we can bring in the issues that came up with the convention and those things that are now embedded in our constitution. And this is where we are today. And inclusion has been a discussion, particularly, as you said, from the last 10 years.
Yeah.
We have not reached there. Much needs to be done, but we are not where we were 10 years ago.
What would inclusion mean, really? Because when you talk about inclusion, what is then suggested is that there has been exclusion.
Exactly. There has been exclusion. And I began by saying people with disabilities were seen to be those who receive what other people give.
Charity.
They were not seen to be people who also can give. And inclusion now has to do with ensuring that we see each other on equal terms. Disability is only a very small part of me. But there's much more in common between me and you. And so you should not say, because I cannot see, I cannot have a job. And today we have many jobs that do not require muscle power. There are many. The technology has also brought us ahead and said, yes, there are all jobs that people with disabilities can do like any other person. So I should not be expected to sit there and be fed. I should also be given the opportunity to also be a productive source. I should also be part of the producers, not just people who consume.
Right.
That is what inclusion means.
Let me take even deeper and further into the matters of political or national importance. Just the other day, when we were doing the census, there were concerns about the exclusion of persons with disability. I don't know how this has improved and how you feel about it. We're looking at voting, we're looking at being counted and being pretty much, vocal and included in matters of national progress. How do you feel about that in as far as inclusion is concerned?
Thank you very much. In 2022, at the beginning of 2022, we petitioned the IBC on the issue of inclusion. And they came up with a small committee called Disability Inclusion Coordinating Committee. I happen to chair that committee. And this committee was looking into all issues relating to elections. For instance, are people with disabilities able to access the voting station and vote independently? Are they included in the cohort of workers that were employed by the IBC in order to run the elections? Are they part of the people who are being voted in? And these are some of the things that we tried to work on. Of course, we cannot say we succeeded fully because, for instance, in our Constitution and in the County Government Act, it provides for the representation of persons with disabilities,
right?
Particularly in the county assemblies. But we found that during the first elections after the Constitution, 43 counties had the representation of persons with disabilities. During the second one, 2017, we found that this went down to having 17 counties without representation. And in the last election, 22, we had 21 counties that didn't have representation. And this is not a reflection of what the Constitution provides, progressive realization of 5%. We've been regressing rather than progressing. So these are some of the concerns we can see in the political arena. We have the Senate.
Right.
And the Constitution very clearly says there must be 2 people in the Senate. That has been adhered to. We have 2 representations of persons with disabilities in the Senate. The National Assembly wasn't clear. It said people with disabilities shall be represented, but it didn't say by how many people. During the first elections after the Constitution, we had 5 people with disabilities in the National Assembly, specifically elected to represent issues of disability. Today, there is only 1. So we are not moving very well in terms of political inclusion.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's come to you, Rita. And sorry, Tina. I beg your pardon. I've just switched the letters around, didn't I? Sorry. Tina, when we now look at the work that you do from a social perspective, explain to us some of the implementation, factors that have to be put in place when we talk about inclusion. I mean, across board for the different kinds of disabilities in the country. Is it possible for us to say, yes, inclusion can take place and can take place at least to a satisfactory level if we just prioritize certain things?
Thank you very much. And as Daktari has said, we have moved from charity-based to rights-based. And we are looking at inclusion as a right for persons with disabilities. They have a right to be included. They have a right to sit on the table. So as from where I sit in the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, we are looking at what laws and policies are in place. As a country, we have signed up on matters legislation for persons with disabilities at the international level, where we have the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, where we are signatories, and we have at the regional level we are looking at the protocol on the rights of persons with disabilities, and within the country we are looking at the Constitution. And then we are looking at the Persons with Disabilities Act of 2003 that we are currently reviewing. We are also looking at policies and legislative frameworks that we are developing as a ministry so that persons with disabilities are included more and further. But also in terms of programs, as a ministry, there are many programs that you're running that are disability inclusive. And some of the programs include vocational rehabilitation training, where we offer training for persons with disability so that they can enter the job market. And then we have sensitization programs across board to the public, to our stakeholders, to the counties across the country, because we have officers across the country, in the counties and sub-counties. So the sensitization forums, most of the time disability inclusion is not achieved because people do not know or people are not aware. So the sensitization programs are bringing awareness at a level that is at the lowest level, so that persons, the community is aware of the rights of persons with disability, is aware of the abilities of persons with disability, is aware that they can sit on the table and bring development, talk development, because they have the ability to do that. As you can see, Daktari is here. Yes. And he has gone through the Kenyan system, and right now he sits on the table that makes decisions. So for us, inclusion is bringing persons with disabilities to the table that makes decision, not just at the end of the process, but all the way from the beginning. We are looking at all sectors, not just one sector. We're looking at education, we're looking at health, we are looking at agriculture. What can persons with disabilities bring? What can persons with disabilities contribute to the table? And something that we are not doing well on is data. when you're talking about development, we are talking about the numbers. What numbers do we have? Do we know the numbers of persons with disabilities? And that is something that as the government we're working on with KNBS. We are looking at doing a national survey for persons with disabilities so that we can have the numbers. When you
do we not know the numbers now? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Tina, but do we have an idea, ballpark, of the numbers of people in Kenya with disabilities?
According to the 2019 census, yes, that's what we are relying on right now.
Okay.
Yes,
but they are really disputed.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Yes.
The point is, currently, the World Health Organization and the World Bank have international figures of people with the disability. They say 16% of persons with disabilities are persons with disabilities in the world. And, we live in the third world. And probably ours would even be higher. But the point is, the last census indicated that there are persons with disabilities in this country are 2.2%. That is 918,000 only. But if we go with the 16%, there should be more than 7 million persons with disabilities in this country.
8.8 actually.
And I talked of disability inclusion in the elections, and the data that was given by the IBC after the audit done by Pricewaterhouse on the registration of persons with voters, it indicated that persons with disabilities comprised 8.7% of the voters. That meant 1.7 million person voters only. The Kenya Institute of Special Education had carried a survey in 2019, and they found that there were 1,900,000 children with disabilities in the school system. And they estimated that 500,000 were not in school system. That comes to about 2.5 million children of school age who should have been counted by the census. So there is a problem in the area of the census, as Tina here has said. And this is what is now being addressed, because we in the Disability Stakeholders Forum challenged the 2.2%.
Right.
And we engaged with the Bureau of Statistics. And so they are now trying to put in together money to do a house domestic survey to really provide the proper statistics on persons with disabilities in this country.
If we're still doing surveys at this point to then get and see what numbers that we have, I find myself getting pretty nervous because if we do have more numbers every year, you know, what does then that mean when we're already talking about trying to get towards inclusion, and that there's so many things that must be done? I mean, and we can say it. I mean, Samuel, you're here today. You're here. You know, you have a vision disability. We know that if we're going to talk about inclusion for people with vision disabilities in Kenya, what are some things that we're talking about? Do we have Braille available for students in class, for example? Are we not setting up mechanisms within government and private sector for people who have vision loss or vision impairment to then be able to work? Like Simon is saying, Samuel is saying that's part of his. That's not all of who he is. It's just part of him. So if we're still today talking about let's find the numbers, at what point are we going to get to the place whereby we say let there be some kind of provision to make sure that children with disabilities at the school level have access to vision kits with Braille? At what point are we going to get to when we say that there must be bills and act in Parliament that's going to ensure that people with vision impairment are able to work a normal job? And that there will be an insistence on the people who set up these organizations to say that, yes, you must have somebody on your payroll who is a person with disability. But beyond that, you have to have the disability furniture, infrastructure to ensure that this person can work here. When will we get there?
And even just to add, looking at the, the demography, that people with disability are not heterogeneous. We're looking at the gender aspect as well.
Yeah.
And as far as the infrastructure and what needs to be put in place is concerned.
Yeah. And as Dr. has said, we have come from far. We are not where we are 20 years ago, 10 years ago. It is work in progress. We do not have the correct data right now, but we are working on getting the correct data so that we can bring out programs and policies that are specific to specific types of disabilities or to gender-sensitive types of infrastructural changes that can accommodate persons with disabilities. So as the ministry, we are working closely with KNBS so that we can have that data, because the data is the one that will assist us. Right now, we are working on the 2019 census, and that is our baseline for now. So the programs that we have might not be 100% inclusive, but we are working towards getting the right data so that we can bring out programs that are specific to certain types of disabilities. And even as we go there, we are looking at programs run by the National Council for Persons with Disabilities, that is SAGA under the ministry, that looks at what can we do, the implementation part of policies and programs for persons with disabilities. What is being done at the county level? What is being done at the national level? What changes can we bring so that persons with disabilities are more involved? Is the right information getting to persons with disabilities? Is the communication getting to persons with disabilities? Are they getting services when they go out to seek for services? Are there, like, for example, sign language interpreters? Are there braille services, as you've said? So those are things that we are looking at and we are working on achieving. We are still work in progress, and as we move on from as the years go by, we are getting better. So actually, once the data we get the right data, and we know the changes are there every year, then the programs will be more specific to the types of disabilities.
Okay, maybe when we take this break and we come back and we can look, also Samuel, with you and Tina, in terms of what has been established, what can we actually see that has been done today that was not there before, that we can see today and it's actually helping? Because I'm from the school of thought that development begets development. You see it working here, it's going to mushroom into something else. But we'll come back and discuss that after this break. Tina Mungatana is the Principal Social Development Officer, and Samuel Kabua is an expert PWD's rights. And we're looking at what it's going to take to achieve disability inclusion across various sectors in Kenya today, and just looking at what is some of the things that have actually been done already and what we would actually like to be done moving into the future. It's 26 minutes to 10. This conversation continues when we come back.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start
Some
your
days
day.
just have you feeling, you know the ones. Very few aha moments. Just moments. Maybe even a few because how can a day this good feel so meh? But then, you realize your moment of escape is a cup of indulgence away. Delamere.
Get lost in rich, creamy, flavorful bliss with every spoonful of Delamere real fruit yogurt. Indulge in the moment.
There's something magical about finding the place you call home. The place where every laugh echoes, every meal feels like a celebration, and every day brings new memories. A home where milestones matter, such as birthdays, anniversaries, family dinners, and all the moments in between that make life special. At DTB, we understand that a home is not just an address. It's the place where you build your life. With an interest rate as low as 9% and up to 105% financing, own your dream home with DTB. You can call us on 0719 031 888
or email us on mortgages@dtbafrica.com or visit our website at www.dtbafrica.com. DTB. Bank with us. Bank on us.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
At 24 minutes to 10 o'clock, Tina Mungatana is a Principal Social Development Officer, and Samuel Kabue is an expert on PWD's rights. And we're having a conversation about the road towards inclusion in Kenya when it comes to persons with disabilities. Now, Samuel, let's look at some things that have actually been done, whereby they were not there before, that we can point to and say, sure, we've made progress, and if anything, it encourages us to do more.
I think one of the most important things that has been done is putting in place a legal framework. Before 2003, we did not have any legal framework on which to base the issues of disability, but we came up with the 2003 Act. Then I said we ratified the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities as a country in 2008, and we've been able to follow that very closely. The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights has been designated as the monitoring agent for how that is being, implemented, and that's a big step. Then we have talked of the Convention on the Kenya Constitution. Kenya Constitution has several clauses on issues of disability which were never in the previous Constitution. For instance, in Article 54, the issues of disability are specifically highlighted. The whole question of how we need to treat persons with disability, the issue of inclusion in education, and then clause 2 is what I said, provides for progressive realization of 5% representation of persons with disabilities in all appointive and elective positions. This framework, and now, as Tina mentioned, we are reviewing the Persons with Disabilities Act to include issues that have come up more recently that were not there when we worked on that act. So the presence of a framework has been very, very crucial. The establishment of the National Council for Persons with Disabilities in 2014 is another progressive issue, where this council needs to be given more powers to be able to supervise and to see to it that the policies and the legal framework is properly implemented. That is not as well, very well achieved, and it needs to be achieved. The other thing, coming to statistics, and of course, Tina confessed that we have not done very well with the statistics, but we realize that there are many other sources of statistics other than the Bureau of Statistics, rather than the 2.2%. I mentioned, for instance, in the Ministry of Education through KISE survey, the National Council for Persons with Disabilities has been collecting information. I mentioned the IBC disaggregating their data and giving numbers of persons with disabilities. These are issues that were not there before, and they are happening. And so when we say we don't just rely with the Bureau of Statistics data, there are other sources of data, and there can be more, because we haven't explored the data that is within the Ministry of Health, the people with disabilities who seek health services, and health is one of the areas in which we are also seeking proper inclusion. So there are things that have been done, but as Tina said, We are on the journey. It's work in progress. And may I also say this? The department that Tina represents, the Department of Social Development, has done very well, particularly in inclusion. They have an outfit they have established called Interagency Coordinating Committee that brings together representations from government departments and from organizations or persons with disabilities and other stakeholders in disability work. And this Interagency Coordinating Committee is trying to look into how the government is implementing its, commitments in different ways. And so that department can be held for really being inclusive and really trying to do the best. But other departments in the governments are not doing the same.
Okay. And it's needed for that everybody needs to come together, essentially, is what we are saying. And it's needed for other departments to be aligned. Otherwise, it won't work. Is that what we're saying?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But see, what I find puzzling, though, is every time we have this discussion relating to people with disabilities, there is the assumption that we all understand what we're talking about. Who qualifies to be a disabled person?
Thank you very much. The National Council for Persons with Disabilities worked on this because they register persons with disabilities. And they worked with the Ministry of Health in identifying people with disabilities. And we have definitions of persons with disabilities. Our constitution has a definition of persons with disabilities. The Act, Persons with Disabilities Act, defines who persons with disabilities. The Convention on the Rights of Persons define who is a person with disabilities, and I'm not sure that is any longer a very big problem. But what has been happening, we still are adopting a more of a medical model of disability where the Ministry of Health has always to confirm that you are a person with a disability. You have to go through an assessment for you to be registered as a person with a disability. Probably it's because people cheat. And especially in the past, nobody wanted to be identified as a person with a disability. Even those who had disabilities and had been able to cross over and be integrated properly, they didn't want to associate with the disability. But today, because of the benefits that are provided to people with disability, for instance, if you have a job, there is a tax exemption on persons with a disability. So everybody who has a job or who has an income want to identify himself with the person with disabilities, and others who don't have want also to enjoy that facility. So it became necessary that the Ministry of Health has to be involved in certifying you as a person with disability. But we have we have definitions, we have classifications by the World Health Organizations as to who is a person with a disability. And so that is not a big issue, or except that point I've said, we have medicalized it a little too much. We needed social workers and psychologists to be involved, not just the medical people.
You see why I asked the question is this. If we talk about the classification and the definition that are provided by the medical fraternity, they then venture into what we call non-communicable diseases. They talk about people who have diabetes as being people living with disabilities. They talk about people who have other conditions which are chronic as people living with disabilities. And the element of classification that you mentioned then comes into fore, because even as you talk of disability, for you to be disabled, it means there's something that other people who are human beings like yourself have which you don't have, and you have a limitation that is due to whether it is a mental, whether it is a physical, whether it is an emotional impairment, but you have it. Now, why am I going into the lens that I'm going to with this. It is because until it is understood what a disability clearly is, even as we talk about dealing with it, it is very easy for us to leave something out simply because of that definition. Mm-hmm. Our constitution is not explicit in its definition of disability. We have to look at other statutes to be able to understand. And as you said, like the Act tells you a little more clearly. Mm-hmm. If our constitution, which we hold as the Bible, is not explicit, it points to the inability of people who are in positions of authority to understand the severity of the situation and why it is that you must leave no stone unturned in addressing this thing in the most comprehensive manner possible. That is my point.
Yeah, but the functional classification provides that disability has to be a condition that impacts on you and the environment to the extent that you have limitations in what you can achieve compared with other people. It is interaction, your interaction and environment, and the limitation that comes in there, so that there are areas in which you cannot function like other people. So what you are saying is correct, that medicalizing it may bring a problem, but even now the document we have in Kenya has outrolled some of those things you have talked about, the chronic diseases and so forth, unless that chronic disease affects your functional ability.
Thank you.
So now, sorry, Tina, I know you wanted to make a point on that. If I can just join that to a question, is that then in this case, where we're talking about the legal framework that has already been put in place, that unfortunately we don't see enough cohesion from the different departments that need to be working together to make sure that some of these things come through. And the implementation of said legal framework also then becomes a pain point, but do we foresee or envision a situation whereby legal framework now births implementation now births further development, and we get to a point where already persons with disabilities have been dealt a tough blow? That's true, but that we don't prolong, or exacerbate that tough blow by making sure that these things that Samuel is talking about are actually put in place and done. Can we envision such a situation?
Yes, thank you very much. So for the legal framework and implementation, it has been a challenge. That's why we are reviewing the Act of 2003, because it is way beyond. It was developed way beyond the Constitution of Kenya. It was developed way beyond. We became member states of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So the review brings with it the powers to implement. And we want those powers, the National Council for Persons with Disabilities, to be able to implement, to be able to have the powers to hold people accountable for not implementing or adhering to to what the Act says. So as I said earlier, it is work in progress, but we are looking at, once we review this Act, then who has the powers to make sure that the other departments, other stakeholders, the private sector is implementing those things that we have put in the Act.
Who is going to be reviewing the Act?
The ministry,
yes,
stakeholders, the National Council for Persons with Disabilities,
and of course Parliament.
And of course, it has to go through Parliament and Senate and be passed. But it is an all-inclusive, because we are working with persons with disabilities. Persons with disabilities have to be involved from the word go.
Exactly.
So we have gone through the process. We go through public participation. We go through engagements that we listen to them and they listen to us, and then we bring it all together so that we are all in agreement.
I'm sure in the past there have been engagements with persons with disabilities.
Yes.
Now, with regards to the subject of inclusion, what have they said?
In the past has not been as inclusive as it is currently. So in the past, persons with disabilities were brought in at the end to rubber stamp or to just say that at some point we involved persons with disabilities. So the process will have gone through, and then at the end, when they are just about to launch or finish the process, then they bring in persons with disabilities. But right now, persons with disabilities are more aware of their rights, so they want to be involved from the word go.
Okay.
Dr. Kabo here will tell you, we have, as a directorate, we have worked with persons with disabilities, organizations of persons with disabilities, so that they are involved from the word go for any process that you're going through as the ministry, from policy development to programs. I
was going to ask, when you say involved, what do you mean?
Yeah, because I want to add on that as well. When you say involved, what do you mean? Especially from the word go. And I'm more inclined to, when you said people don't know, all right? You said persons with disability are now more aware. Now, I want to go back to the rest, and we're all human beings, the way CTs put it. But the aspect of making it a wow factor, that you should know that these people have rights. Yeah. Would it begin earlier in life? Would it begin at the community level way earlier than later, where you have to now bring it into the curriculum and start to sensitize people, like on this platform, that people just know they are part of us, they're part of the community. It's not a wow moment. When do you start?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, as the State Department for Social Protection, we have officers all the way to the sub-county. So we have the headquarters, and then we have the regional level, and we have the county level and the sub-county level. At the sub-county level, where the rubber meets the road, our officers do sensitization forums for persons with disabilities. Throughout our implementation of all our programs, persons with disabilities have to be involved. So we do barazas, we do sensitization meetings, we do boardroom meetings with persons with disabilities. We have committees that represent the community at the locational level. That committee ensures that there are persons with disabilities sitting in that committee. So when we say we involve, when we come up with a program, like the State Department did a support needs assessment for persons with disabilities and their primary caregivers. We are looking at persons with disabilities, but what are their caregivers? What about their caregivers? Are we looking at what they have to go through? Are we looking at support or programs that you can bring to the... So we went out to the community. We went out to the grassroots level and brought together persons with disabilities and stakeholders and sat together and engaged them to see what programs can we do for caregivers of persons with disabilities. There are persons with disabilities that require 24 hours care. That caregiver is abandoning all they have to do to take care of this person with disabilities. They have to be there 24 hours. So the person, the caregivers have their own needs, their own economic needs that they are leaving behind. But what can we do to ensure that their caregivers are well taken care of? Even their psychosocial needs. When you take care of a person with disability for 24 hours, that needs you there all the time. Then you need a break sometimes. What can we do for persons for their caregivers to have that break? Can they have a program that gives them some time off to just be themselves? So those are programs that we implement as a State Department. And also the sensitization part is really important. If persons with disabilities know their rights, what about the community? Do they know the rights of persons with disability? Do they know how to communicate to these people? Does communication reach to all people, including persons with disabilities with visual impairment, with hearing impairment? Are they included in passing the information or passing whatever information that is needed? Right. Yes.
Samuel, are you comfortable that we're on the road to inclusion and that this road is long and leading, or it's going to stop at some point? Are you comfortable that we're well on the way?
It's a rough road. And I say this because we have talked of a very elaborate legal framework. And we have clearly said that the implementation is in itself a hitch. And may I also point out that we live in an age, especially in the since the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, we are in an age where it's politically correct to talk about persons with disabilities. You'll hear it with the politicians, with everybody. But much of it ends there at the talk. I'll give an example. The Kenya Kwanza Manifesto provides that within 18 months, NHIF was going to cover persons with disabilities in matters of health. Within 18 months, we are now in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Nothing has been done about that. So we have there are statements that will make that never find the light. So the point is the good thing about the legal provision is that as we come into an awareness of the situation, even persons with disabilities have a role. We've said that we don't have an agent today that has powers to enforce inclusion. For instance, we have the constituency development funds. They provide for bursaries, but if they were also to provide 5% of their funds was to go to bursaries to persons with disabilities, it would be a good idea. And since they are part of this country's law, that is what they should be doing. But there's nobody to enforce that. So we need that kind of an enforcement. And more so, we are getting to a point where sometimes we revert to legal situation. For instance, the National Gender and Equality Commission went to court about this lack of representation of persons with disabilities in the national assemblies.
Yeah.
Of course, we also have laws that contradict each other. For instance, the election law, the political parties law provides that the list that is given by the parties for nomination cannot be altered by IEBC. And so you are told to, for these nominations, you give eight suggestions of who would be nominated if you had the chance to nominate. Most parties will have only 1 or 2 chances to nominate a person. And if 5 of them begin with the youth, the woman, the worker, so the persons with disabilities is put number 7 or 8.
And that can't be the
you
case.
You find they are not there. So this law that prohibit IBC to equalize the positions is a hindrance.
And needs to be looked into.
It needs to be looked into.
Well, I mean, we want to thank both of you for being here this morning. These are conversations that we must continue to have because the road to inclusion is still a long one and that there's work that's being done along the way. Tina Mungatana is the Principal Social Development Officer and Samuel Kaboya is an expert on persons with disabilities rights. And they've been here with us this morning. And we want to thank you for coming. And we'd like to ask you to have a moment with us later on in the day with Delamere Yogurt. And it's giving you an opportunity to just sit back. It's breakfast on the go. At the same time, it is a break from work or a break from studying. So have a moment on us with Delamere Yogurt. Asante Sana. Good morning. It's 10 a.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm